What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
What kind of ignorant shit is that?
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
You idiot, you fool!
Hey, dummy!
This is the Ignorance is Blessed podcast.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Hey, idiots, welcome back to Ignorance is Blessed, the podcast that attempts to overcome ignorance, mostly by asking ignorant questions with me, Jessica Michelle Singleton. I'm a comedian, and I'm ignorant. That's why we're here. We're learning. We're making an ass out of ourselves. Well, I am. Anyway, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. Please subscribe, rate, review it on iTunes. It helps. Makes me feel good. Makes other people find the podcast a little bit easier because we show up a tiny bit higher in those ranks. The more, what's it called? Reviews we get? Not ranks, but search things. When people start typing in ignorance, we'll pop up quicker, basically. And, you know, we'll maybe pop up in there noteworthy and et cetera, et cetera. Plus, then more of us can learn answers to our ignorant questions. And thank you so much to those who have already left those reviews and subscribed. Love you guys. You guys are so fucking amazing. Shout out to my best idiots forever, Jean, Dustin, Kathy, from my Patreon, patreon.com/ignoranceisblessed, where I release the episodes with no intro a little bit earlier, and you get bonus content. You can get postcards from me on the road, cool packages, VIP tickets, etc. etc. Yeah, I got some shows coming up. You can see links to tickets to almost all of them, jmscomedy.com/shows. I'll be in Tampa next Wednesday, the 13th, when I'm also, by the way, dropping a second podcast with my best friend, Nicole Amy Schreiber. We started an interactive podcast, slightly interactive. It's called Name That Pod for now. So we need your name suggestions, and we are taking them in the form of iTunes podcast reviews. Voting first round will begin when we get the first 50, and we are not choosing a name till we get 500 reviews. So you will have the opportunity to submit a name up to 500 reviews. Anyway, I digress. Tampa next Wednesday, the 13th. And then that weekend, I will be in Nashville opening for Big J. Okerson and Steve Ranazizi from the League. And then I do Platonic Enemies tour at the end of the year. December 4th, I'll be in Raleigh. December 5th, Asheville. December 8th, I believe Baltimore. I'm waiting for confirmation on that because we're still not on their website at Magoobies. Asheville is at a place called Fleetwood's. Raleigh, we are at Goodnight's Comedy Club. On December 10th, I'm coming to Virginia Beach. Tell your Virginia Beach friends and family and enemies. Tell me who your enemies are. Send me pictures. I will harass them from the crowd. Funny Bone, Virginia Beach. December 11th, we are at Helium in Philly. And December 12th, we are at The Stand in New York City, upstairs at The Stand. December 4th, we're in Portland, Maine. I'm sorry for yawning. Listen, I'm doing it with my friend Buddy Hutton. We are still looking for a venue in Boston. I'm on hold to confirm for one where we'd just be doing spots on a show. But we're looking for a venue to do our own show. The clubs have not responded, and one of them wanted to charge us a ludicrous amount of money to do the show. So I said no. I'd rather just do spots than pay a club that's fucking people money. Anyway, I haven't been to Boston since 2014. Buddy worked in Boston, so we both have a bunch of people who want to see us. Because he used to live there, he doesn't now, so everyone is gung-ho to come see him as well. And all my Boston people are wondering where the fuck I've been. So hopefully we will secure a venue on the 15th. Also looking in the Roanoke area between, although if Baltimore falls through, maybe that's a moot point. But we're looking for something between Asheville and Baltimore. So I was looking at those Virginia Blue Ridge Mountains because you kind of drive through those according to Google Maps. We shall see. But those are the shows for now. Enough about me. Let's talk about this podcast. Feraz Ozel is my guest today. He is an incredible comedian. All around, just fucking awesome dude, too, by the way. I've known him for years. And the minute I met him, I'm like, this guy is just, he was just like positive and happy and fucking rad. So I was excited to finally sit down with him. We talked about how he grew up Muslim, but he has since ventured off into a different way of living, just sort of a more spiritual way of life. We talked about that a lot, but also we talk about how maybe he circled back a little bit to his Muslim roots through that journey. Anyway, he's awesome. I will bite your ear off. No more. I don't know why I said bite your ear off. What am I, Mike Tyson? Listen, it doesn't matter. Here he is, Feraz Ozel, Muslim and more. Hey, idiots. It's me. I'm here with Feraz Ozel.
Hi.
He's an incredible comedian. I don't know. I'm so bad at like intros and stuff. I'll do a more formal one just so you know in the intro thing. Intro I tack on, but
something zesty to draw him in.
Yes, you've already heard in that intro if you've made it this far. An incredible comedian, awesome dude. You guys can't see it, but right now, amazing mustache.
It's on there.
Big fan. Was that let me ask, just a choice because, or was it because I know you're like acting and.
Yeah. No, this isn't an acting thing. If anything, it's like I have to shave it whenever I have auditions.
Yeah.
And then when I don't have a slew of auditions and like I just grow the beard back. And then when the mustache is ready, I shave the whole beard and I get this really thick Hulk Hogan-like mustache.
Yes, it's very like 70s vibe.
Yeah.
You're like Freddie Mercury.
It is often associated with gayness, is what I'm finding, or Mexicanness. I'm either
It's so my
which isn't my goal.
I'm not trying to be Mexican
or gay or a gay Mexican. It's fine. I have no problem with either of these things. It's just not what I'm trying to rep.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing of the mustache that it's it's like a big gay thing.
Yeah.
My boyfriend had one. He like just shaved it, but I think it looks cool. I love it. I love mustaches.
Thank you.
Which I don't know what that says about me because it's also a pedophile.
Why is there so many negative things associated with it? I like the mustache because I think it shakes shit up a little bit. I think that without my mustache, I have a generally kind of cookie cutter appearance almost.
This is different. This kind of makes you like, what's up with this guy?
Yes. Or like when people, I'm the kind of person where without this, or like even when people see my tattoos, they go, "Whoa, you have tattoos? You don't seem like a person that would have tattoos." And I've just come to the conclusion that my general visage is on a level of cookie cutterness that doesn't reflect what I am or how I feel.
Oh, yeah,
or something.
because you do have like an appearance that I guess people could, without the mustache, could be like very innocent. Or,
People will be like, "Do you drink?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then they're like, "Oh, do you smoke?" I'm like, "I do fucking a lot more than that."
That's so funny because I'm the opposite. Everyone's like, "Are you sure you don't smoke cigarettes every day?" Like, I don't smoke at all. And people are like, "A pack a day, right?" And I'm like, "What? No."
They're like, "Then what's in your jean jacket pockets?"
They're like, "You're on cocaine all the time." I'm like, "No, I'm just annoying."
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Well, I wonder, I guess that sort of leads us into our topic because you grew up Muslim, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So do you think some people look at you and they're like, "You're brown, you're probably Muslim, I bet you don't drink." Do you think
I think that happens. And I think that, I'm not one of these like people that, some people, if you try to insinuate what they're about based on their culture that they're probably a part of, they try to get offended. They get offended for some reason.
Oh, yeah. They're like, "Oh, you just think that because of the color of my skin?" And it's like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I go for like, call me crazy. I try to dig into what's this person's intention right now.
Yeah.
And most of the time they're trying to be considerate, right?
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, or if I talk about Muslim-y stuff on stage or growing up Muslim on stage and they know me, they're like, "Oh, do you drink? You probably don't drink." And I'm like, "No, I don't really follow that kind of stuff anymore. I was raised that way, but no, I'm fine. What do you got?"
Yeah, usually it's like they're either, I think consider is the main thing.
Yeah.
And then there's some people who maybe know nothing or little to nothing about the culture. So they do want to be like, probably the same angle of just like, do you eat meat at all? Or is it just is it pigs or is it cows or is it, this is so off topic. And I dated a guy who was Hindu in college and my sorority had an event called Woodser, where we do like, it's like very cowboy-esque and there's a hayride and people were blackout drunk on this hayride and another girl's date. We like pass all these farm animals and he's not like, I mean, his family was, he technically still was it, but he wasn't like some sort of devout
Hindu. He still ate your roast beef.
I mean, like, hello. Yeah, he didn't. He better have liked it.
That's right.
Pastrami. Anyways, one of the drunk frat guys that was someone's date poured out their beer on a cow we were passing, and the girl just looked straight at him and she's like, "I'm so sorry." And it was just the weirdest. Like, I was like, I don't think you need to apologize to him for that. But
like, she thought like a single tear was going to be going down his eye.
Because he was like, "Why?"
Yeah. He's like, "You should be sorry." He's like, That's just a terrible thing to do. It's such like a frat guy thing to do, right?
And to just to just pour beer on an animal. I mean, you should be sorry to the animal because it's shitty.
Yeah.
And probably whoever owns it. But like, I mean, sorry, the roundabout point of that was that, people hear these little things and little nuggets and they're like, I guess everyone's like that. Well, let's just get into it, I guess.
Yeah.
Are your parents, were they immigrants or?
Yes. So my parents came here when they were pretty young, though. My dad came when he was like 18 to go to college at Fresno State. And it's a really classic, cool immigrant story that I've been like trying to write. Like I have a film like beat it out in my head about it. It's just whether I want to actually like write the whole thing.
I mean, no, coming up with the idea is way more fun than actually writing.
Yeah. Than just telling people it on the podcast. You feel like you've done 80% of whatever whatever internal joy would come from putting in $50,000 to try to film it.
I know, fuck.
But no, so my dad showed up in Fresno and we asked him why he went to Fresno State. He said he had a friend that was there. And when you were in Pakistan, in Karachi in that year, my dad's like 74, 75 now, right? So that year they were just like, oh, I'm going to go to an American university. And it was just like, amazing. You're going to an American.
That's just
they didn't really care
funny.
that much. They're like, what's cheap? What's cool? What seems like pretty good? And where are other people I know already there?
That's so funny to just think. I don't know how many people listening have been to Fresno, but the idea of someone just overseas being like, I'm going to Fresno is like, it's for those of you who don't know, it's just kind of very like podunk. I like just a smaller, in theory, trashy California town. I'm sure there's different parts. I've been to the shitty parts.
Yeah, in general, it's like a piece of Alabama, like rural Alabama has just got teleported into California.
That's such a good way to put it.
You'll find Trump flags. You'll find just farmland, farms upon farms upon farms, and not a great place. So it's kind of funny for him. He probably had like a poster of like a picture of New York City on his wall. And he's like, I'm leaving Karachi off to see the glitz and glamour of America. And then he shows up in fucking Fresno. 1972.
Which it's even like, God knows how awful it is now. It was probably worse then.
Yeah. And his homie picks him up on like a bicycle or something, like a really either a really small car where you had to like sit on top of another guy or a bicycle. I don't know if I turned it into a bike in my head.
Just like a cartoon.
Yeah, like a cartoon. 10 of them. This is not 10 of them shared like a 1-bedroom apartment. They just slept all over the floor.
Is that a stereotype?
I think so. I think it can be a stereotype, but like, see, those types of stereotypes, I'm not even like offended by, and I think that people should need to like understand them as a compliment, as something to be proud of than a stereotype. Because you want to talk about like hustle porn nowadays, right? Like hustle porn, like Gary Vee or Eric the Preacher, like how hard are you willing to work? You want to succeed as much as you want to breathe, Like, these guys came out here and they just slept in the like sleeping bags all over the floor. They all paid rent together because they were working as much as they could while going to school, getting straight A's, and then sending money back to Pakistan.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so and now like literally all of those guys are millionaires. It's like they lived in that apartment. It's like wild.
Where are the rest of them? Are they all married? I assume.
They're all married at 70. You can probably go steal one.
Someone's circling the drain.
Yeah, someone's circling the drain somewhere.
Was he already with your mom? Did he meet her in?
No, he met her over here in the like the communities that were hanging out over here, and then his mom came to visit one time, and he got like the thumbs up and said, "I'm into this one," and his mom said, "Cool," and then they got married.
Arranged marriages aren't.
They can be.
They can.
Yeah, they are. They are in like the old country.
Okay.
They're definitely, especially like even in Pakistan right now, it's more modern.
Give me just a second.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Listen, you guys, I'm not going to try to jump back in and for us to pretend that pause never happened. Madison Shepard, former guest of the show, came down the stairs and we started talking, so I paused it. But anyways, we're diving back in.
Yeah.
This is how my show goes. It's fine. We were talking about, arranged marriages.
Yeah, arranged marriages. So like even in Pakistan nowadays, it's a little bit more like, what do you think of this person? It's more like your parents float the idea a lot of the time, and the kid still has a say in whether they're into it or not.
Yeah, it's not just like you're marrying that person. We traded you for a goat in a microwave or whatever.
Yeah. The old
horrible stereotype.
Whatever the old joke is.
It's just hacky premise.
Yeah, just a hacky premise, right?
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It probably was a thing in the 80s. But in America especially, it like totally doesn't go down that way because the parents know that most of the parents know they brought you here. They'll float ideas. A lot of times, like, what do you think of this person? What do you think of that person?
Have you met her?
Yeah. And most time you've met like someone that you like knew from the community, and like you saw each other.
What do you think about this person? What do you think about that person?
Yeah. I remember one time my mom showed me. She was like, "Oh, this person's daughter's like interested in you." what do you think? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, can I see like you met her before? I was like, I can't remember. I'm really bad with names. I barely ever like hang out or go to these community things because I've always
Yeah.
just been kind of on the outskirts of it based on my lifestyle.
Yeah, you're a rebel. Like, I don't hang
guess.
out at that thing where people aren't drinking.
Yeah. I need to get drunk to hang out at that thing where people are drinking.
I have anxiety.
Yeah, but then as I got older, I found out that most of them were the same way too. And everybody was just paranoid about the other kids finding out because your parents are always telling you, like, don't talk to this person's kid about the thing you do because they're going to tell their parents and think we're bad parents. So all the kids
it's
are
all
just
that,
like,
sweep it under the rug.
yeah. So all the kids are doing shit, but all the kids are like, are you one of the cool ones? Can I tell you? Can I trust you? Is what I learned when I got older.
Oh, wow. So it's all this, like, we all want to keep up the image that we're just, like, pure and following all the rules. But
Yeah.
it's pretty standard for, I think, most communities.
Yeah.
Especially any type of religion.
Yeah, especially in religion or old country type shit. And that's one reason I got super into stand up is because a whole lifetime of being told, like, you can't say this, you can't say that. It's like stand up's the equivalent of shouting it from a rooftop, right?
Oh,
like, this is
absolutely.
what I am. This is why I'm horrible. This is why I'm not, whatever. These are my issues. Here we
I'm
go.
going to say that.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Exactly.
How'd your parents feel when you said you were getting into stand up?
They were like, well, are you sure you want to do this? Because I was always a really good student and like I
Yeah.
got into law school and other stuff like that. And then at the last minute, I was like, I've also been doing stand up for the last 2 years in college and this is what I want to give a solid shot to. So my parents are cooler than I give them credit because I think they reacted better than 99% of like my peers' parents would have reacted.
Yeah.
Their main concern was just my dad was just like, can you please stop doing vulgar material? and two, don't be homeless. Like just don't be homeless and make
Figure out a
something
way to
yourself.
keep a roof over your head. I think
Yeah.
that's
And it was
fair
reasonable.
ass. Did you stop doing vulgar material?
No, I didn't actually. I stood my ground, but naturally my material has got less vulgar because I was a 20-year-old 2-year comic.
Yeah,
at
you
that
don't have
time.
much to talk about. And
Yeah.
it's that age to be like, oh, yeah, fucking tits.
And
bruh.
yeah, in my life, and I was like president of my fraternity. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I was living a very vulgar life, so it was hard not to write shit that wasn't, you know.
Well, I don't do anything that doesn't involve beer or semen. So I'm either coming on a woman or chugging something.
Either way. Yeah. But then so my mom was trying to show me pictures of this girl that might have been interested or whatever, but she was only showing me like headshots. And I was
very
like,
professional pictures.
just like nice, like
Oh, like just
graduate
from the neck
photos.
up?
Yeah, and I was like, and I didn't know how to tell my mom, like, yo, what's up with them titties though, ma?
Yeah, you're like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but like,
That's nice. She seems very pretty. She's like very pretty face and all, but and that's cool not to be a
I
shallow
need to
asshole.
see that body.
And also in today's day and age, you know from photos and not to be like, you
No, I
know-
mean they crop from the chin down.
Yeah,
It's like,
and
what,
then I'm
what
like-
other chins is she hiding?
Yeah, and I'm like, what am I dealing with? Is she welterweight, light heavy? What am I dealing with here?
Yeah,
Is
does she have both her arms? Like, what's
yeah,
happening?
what's going on? You know, I need to see some body.
I just
you know?
need to know.
Is she an ethereal concept attached to the face? So, so then I also was just like, I can't do this. I'm too much of a romantic. And also I just know that I just know that I'm not cut from that general way of life that like
Yeah.
anyone that's even the least bit traditional that's gone to like higher education school and into that kind of life path or whatever, they're not going to be on this journey. Like I can't get into a situation with anybody who's not like 110% understands what this journey is and is on board.
Your
you know?
beautiful spiritual journey.
My beautiful spiritual journey,
journey.
giant journey, coupled with stand up, which actually intertwine a lot, right?
Oh, I mean, yeah, no, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. I want to circle
Yeah.
back
Yeah,
to that.
I'm
but,
going on tangents.
No, I mean, me
Where
too.
were we? Muslim
I want
stuff?
to make sure I don't
Growing up?
forget all the Muslim stuff because I can dive into spiritual stuff all day.
Yeah, so where were we? So arranged marriage stuff for me. Never had any of that shit happen. Then my parents came here. They met. They got married. They had kids. I have 3 older siblings. I'm the
Okay.
last one, and
Oh,
so I
baby.
feel like my older siblings really wore them down based on their expectations of what their kids would be in
It's
relation
like, I
to.
just stay alive.
Yeah.
I guess. Or
Yeah.
don't at this point.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
None of my siblings followed like cultural expectations or religious expectations.
So
like,
by the time you grew up, they're like, yeah, we get it. You're not going to do it.
yeah, but I was actually the one that did.
For a long time?
I prayed 5 times a day until I was like 20 years old.
Really?
And even my parents don't pray 5 times a day. And none of my siblings pray, period. Like I went to private Muslim school from kindergarten through 8th grade.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, you know how you like there's the old private Catholic school girl joke, you know, like
Yeah,
you know,
that was you.
That's like, yeah, that's me. Just a slut afterwards.
Just,
you know?
you got out and you're like, who wants it?
Yeah. yeah. Yeah.
And you're wearing that same uniform for some reason. It's like, you didn't need to go that far.
Yeah. The school when I was in private Muslim school, they separated us with all the boys were on the left side of the class and all the girls were on the right side of the class. So there was no like
To avoid temptation.
to avoid temptations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were girls wearing the,
Scarves.
yeah, what are they called?
Hijabs. Yeah, all the girls had on hijabs. My buddy got he got expelled in 8th grade because him and the girl they kissed, just a kiss, just one kiss. They went behind like the school or somewhere and kissed, and word got out because one of her friends ratted them out because she thought she had to do right by God and ratted them out, and they got expelled.
Did she get stoned? They don't do that in America.
No, they don't do that. Yeah, no.
Wow, that's a bummer. I wonder what that friend felt like. I wonder if
He was laughing about it. He hated the school.
No, I mean her friend. I wonder if she thinks back now and she's like, "Oh man, I really fucked her."
I mean, yeah. I wonder
or
if
if she's like, "I am a hero in the eyes of God."
Yeah. She's like, we can all agree there's a spot for me in paradise.
Like fucking bitch.
Yeah, 100%. And it was just it was also like you could tell it was like a catty thing coupled with a religious thing.
Oh,
you
she's
know?
probably like jealous, like little middle school or whatever.
I think so. So anyway, I got out of that middle school and then went to normal high school and all, and.
Was that a hard adjustment going to normal high school?
Not
you
really.
Just got to sit next to girls. You were like, whoa.
Woo.
Or was it just like, yeah, whatever?
No, it was whatever. Because my friends in like even in our private Muslim school, we all had other things we did outside of school, where we had other friends that weren't Muslim, or like we were trying to figure out where to meet girls. You know what I mean? Like through our neighborhood. Yeah. Like you're in 8th grade, trying to do whatever your version is for trolling for puss.
That's so funny. It's so weird. Yeah, like what did we do? It's like, let's go to the fucking mall.
Dude, the mall. Yeah, the mall was the worst.
Yeah, what do kids do now? Just
Tinder?
Yeah. Do you just start Snapchatting with people from your class?
Yeah, do
like,
they just swipe in high school and then just like they're all around you? They're just swiping, the people are sitting next to you.
Yeah, do they have like we're probably not supposed to know if there's an underage Tinder. Like a high school Tinder? I don't know.
It's called TikTok.
Oh God. Ugh. TikTok. I wish that would blow itself up. Anyway.
Side note, TikTok's under national security investigation because it might be a Chinese threat.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't trust it.
Just assume everything's a Chinese threat, guys.
Life is a Chinese threat.
Life is a Chinese threat.
Wait, so and by the way, I'm sorry, you guys can't see this. I'm playing with my hair because there's knots in it, but I'm not just twirling my hair to be like,
yeah.
So what's next? So until you were 20, you prayed 5 times a day.
Pretty much, yeah.
What happened? Why did you stop?
I think I realized that I was doing it more from like an insurance policy point of view rather than a spiritual depth fulfillment point of view.
You're like, I'm not really praying to God. I'm praying like, just in case there's a God. I did the thing.
Yeah, I was like, and I realized I was kind of doing that I probably played that game for 5 years. I think by 15, I kind of wasn't in my heart of hearts. I wasn't really sure if all this dogmatic stuff really added up in my concept. Yeah, but I was like, you know what though? It makes me a good person, and worst case scenario, if it is true, I've done my things and I'm not going to this psychotically scary hell they talk about. Muslim hell is the scariest hell.
Oh, really?
Muslim hell is like worse than
Muslim
Old
hell.
Testament hell. Like the descriptions of what happens to you in hell are very, very vivid and oddly specific. And I was like taught these things. And
they just teach you this as children?
Yeah, like there's like stuff like if you backbite, like, do you know, is that a common expression?
Backbite?
Yeah.
Talk back? What is
backbiting? Like talking shit behind people's back.
Oh, I've never heard it called backbite.
That's what they call it. That's like a common phrase. And I don't know. That's what they always refer to it. And I always wondered
literally biting people's bags? Is that a problem in the Muslim community? I was like, that's not a thing anyone's ever told me.
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
No,
so like
gossiping. If you gossip, it's like considered one of like the worst sins you can possibly do. So like if you gossip, I don't want to speak out of school, but if it's either gossiping or something similar that's like kind of pretty bad, there's really specific punishments. Like you're gonna have to stand on like you'll have like molten lava poured down your fucking throat or something, or
oh my God.
Or like you'll have to stand on a rock that's so hot that by standing on it, it's gonna boil your brain, and that's what you're gonna have done to you for like eternity until you move on to the next punishment that serves you. If you show your flesh, like you indulge in like infidelity, or like if you just get naked and shit like that, they're gonna hang you from hooks from your tits and like your chest, like hooks through your skin.
Holy
and just hang you up,
shit.
like really, really specific Old Testament type scary shit.
Somebody came up with that.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, Muhammad, allegedly. I guess.
Allegedly.
I don't know. I'm not gonna get in trouble for saying this on a podcast.
I mean, I think you'll be okay.
No.
I think as long as you're not drawing him, I think you're fine. No, but here's the thing: is like I don't know if, and it comes to the point where like I don't know where along the lines these things are like were revelations to him, and then he said this is what happens, or these are people who were
later
scholars
on repeating it.
Scholars later on say it happened.
With
yeah.
any text where it's like it's hard to know what is really from whatever the quoted source is versus
Yeah.
That's the problem is that like
Yeah.
men got involved
Yeah.
in all religious texts.
Fucking men.
Fucking men. I meant like
Yeah,
humans,
yeah, I know.
but it's men. Women can't read and write. That's ridiculous. That's why I have a podcast. It's a talkie.
It's a talkie thingy. Yeah. So no, but I think wherever it came from, it was like Old Testament style.
Scary
You know what I'm
shit,
saying?
yeah.
There's no reform shit here. It's like, so we still getting the fresh organic shit served up. And you learn that shit when you're 8 through 12. That shit.
Terrifying.
You think about that, right? In terms of my life, it was like, oh, that was middle school, and how did I accept that all the way through college? But you're really talking like this was ingrained in me from 8 through 12. And then I went another 8 years from 12 to 20, and around
'cause
like
you're
18,
like, well, what
19.
if?
Yeah. What if? And then like 19-ish, 20-ish, I was kind of like, I don't think I believe this stuff really anymore in this capacity that they're stating it. And then I just like let it all go. And then I went from being like, pretty Muslim, like praying, and I fasted all of Ramadan. I would fast sunrise to sunset, and I started offense and defense football. So I was
How did
playing
you
football,
do that?
no water the whole game.
That's
Like,
insane.
Yeah, it was wild.
Did you lose a lot of weight during Ramadan?
No, because you eat fucking
Oh, as soon
everything
as the
when the
sun
sun
sets,
goes
you're
down.
like, "Nom, nom, nom, nom."
Yeah, and then like it's like a celebration to eat, so you're eating like dessert
Every time you break the fast?
Yeah, it's a feast every time you break
Is there,
the fast.
So there's nothing that like extra that you can't eat during Ramadan? It's just during those hours.
Just during those hours, no water is the big thing that's hard.
I fasted for Ramadan once because I had a crush on a Muslim kid, and he had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm a crazy person.
You didn't even capitalize. That is a crazy thing to do. You didn't even tell your crush you were doing the thing to impress
In my
him.
head, I was like, I'm just gonna do this. I'll figure out if I can handle being Muslim. As if the next logical step would be like, hi, me, a white woman, likes you. So obviously you just want to be with me, right?
Yeah, I
By the way,
fasted.
it never happened. He fucked a girl who was my friend on the cheerleading squad.
There you go. And she was not fasting. He did not care.
She was not fast.
That's also a really common thing that young Muslim guys do is like, I always find it really funny, and I was guilty of it too, is that even when you believe elements of the faith, there's like selective following. And normally the following order goes like this: I don't drink, I don't eat pepperoni, but I do smoke weed and fuck puss. Is like, I know so
Like,
many.
people
Yeah.
draw their line somewhere.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't drink. I'm a Muslim. I don't eat pepperoni pizza. Yeah, but I'll eat this pussy and I'll like take some bong rips.
I
It's
will
like,
put
oh,
my face. Okay, so is going down on someone like frowned upon completely, or is it just because you're not married?
yeah. There's nothing about going down anywhere.
They're not like they'll put hooks in your lips.
yeah. There's no.
Never go. It's just like
Yeah.
DJ Khaled wrote. The
Yeah.
fucking,
DJ Khaled wrote the
What's it called?
amendment.
What's the
Quran?
Muslim Bible?
The
Yeah,
Quran?
I couldn't remember.
Yeah. no,
Wow, that's a quotable.
Yeah.
What's the Muslim Bible
What's the
called?
Muslim book? What's the Muslim remix of the Bible?
Fuck. So did you just go like you went from praying every day to like cold turkey? Like, actually, I just don't believe this anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. And I went to like pretty hard atheism at first, where I was
Were you
like,
were you one of those like staunch atheists that like needed to like
Nah.
tell people about it?
nah, I was more just like, none of us know what the fuck is going on here. Let's all stop
Yeah.
acting like we do. But
Yeah.
and because I'd gone through a lifetime of, see, and this is the thing, I'm not one of these people even now that's like, I personally don't believe in organized religion for me. And I also believe that if you're able to transcend organized religion to find a deeper level of spiritual depth and connection to whatever is going on, I think that can be the highest level of whatever it is. But if you're the kind of person that through religion and the
Has
exact
found that?
yeah, and through the dogma and through the rules, you're able to create a system that fulfills you with a spiritual depth, more power to you.
I don't believe you, but
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
believe that you're like that. I don't believe those people.
Yeah.
No, I'm the same way in that, like, yeah, no, I like sometimes I think religion for some people can get in the way of spirituality because you
so too. Yeah.
get hung up on the rules or the
Mhm.
like rituals
Mhm.
instead of the connection to whatever the higher power is.
Exactly. And that's where I was. And I think that's part of, and I tell my buddies this, 'cause some of my best friends are still like pretty religious dudes, but they're super like, they're just normal Muslim dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're captain of the basketball team. One of them writes for television right now. Like, there's normal dudes, but they still believe in this stuff. And I go, so do you like get something from it? And he's like, yeah, when I pray and I do the thing, it's like a meditative, deep experience for me. And it's basically like their version of a moving, how I interpret it, it's like a moving meditation with mantras, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So if you get something from it, cool, go for it, you know? And I'm like, I have to tell them, like, maybe it's the cloth I'm cut from, and you too, like, we're comics. It's almost like how the French identify as French before any other thing, religion
Yeah.
or race.
That's
We
how
identify as
comics
comics
are.
are, right? Yeah.
Literally, that's so
Yeah.
funny because that's the one thing that like I regularly will have these like miniature private, well, sometimes public, like identity crises because I don't really feel comfortable putting very many labels on myself. Except it's never bothered me to call myself a comedian. I'm like, well, that I'm a comedian, but like even like gender stuff, I get hung up on. Like, well, yeah, like I am a woman, but like I don't need to like step out in the world and be like, I'm a woman. Like I don't need to
I don't need
talk
everything
about it. Yeah.
Right. I don't need everything that comes with that. Yeah, but when you're a comic, and it's funny because when you are a comic, to say that to another comic, it's like we understand all the different nuances and layers of what that means with kind of how you view the world, your belief system, how you carry yourself, how you deal with rules, how you deal with authority. Like, so for me, rules and authority and dogma, they're just not going to match,
No.
And so they were just getting in the way. And then I got resentful of them. And so for me, and that's why whenever I talk about this, I do like to make it clear that I'm not like trying to bash Islam or because I do believe that it's good for a lot of people, and some of the best people I've known, some of my best friends are that. For me personally, it was just getting in the way because I don't do rules, I don't do bosses, I don't do managers.
So then you're hung up on the like, ugh, I got to do this thing instead of getting to go like, wow, I get to have this like spiritual experience.
Yeah.
Instead of I get to have this moment where I'm connecting to God or
exactly.
Allah or whatever.
Yeah, and Allah is God is the other thing.
It's just a word.
Allah is the name for God the Father.
Yeah.
And Jesus is a prophet, not the Son of God.
Not
That's
the Son of
what
God.
people don't know. There's so many similarities.
But then aren't we all okay? So this is
Yeah.
I grew up Christian and Catholic. Ugh. Doesn't matter, but Catholics like it's different.
Right.
Did you ever hear that like we're all God's children? Is that a thing that only Christians say?
I think that's a Christian
because
thing.
that's where I always got hung up on the Jesus thing, where I was like, why is he so special then?
Yeah, so he's
Like,
just his
that's like-
favorite child?
I was like, I'm also the child of God.
Right.
So like, let's relax.
I get it. He fucked his mom.
Yeah. Well, and I always thought it was funny too, him being on a cross and they're like, he died on that cross for our sins. Like his death was supposed to like clear us of our sins. And I'm like, there are two other criminals on crosses behind him.
Yeah. What
Like,
about those
like
guys?
me too. I did it. I'm doing this for you guys.
Yeah. Can I get some credit? You know what I always thought of? Sorry, do you want to finish?
No, go.
You know what I always thought was funny about that with Christianity was like the thing that the concept of he died for all of our sins, and then also with Catholicism and confession, it always felt like the most human made. Like what a cop out! Like to be like, you just do whatever you want, and then you go to a booth and you confess, and then you're chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I always well, that's a great deal.
No, I mean, yeah, it's great. And then I always thought it was very mafia-esque too, that it's like, I'm sorry, me as a normal churchgoer doesn't have the authority to talk to God, so I have to tell this God man in a box.
Right.
Like the priest is this middleman. Like I did once long ago try to do a bit on it, and I maybe will one day circle back to it, but I just was like, I don't. But just this idea of like, no, you tell me the sins, I'll talk to the big guy for you.
Yes.
Like, he's your like cleanser.
Yeah.
And like, you just say some Hail Marys, it'll be okay.
It'll be good, yeah. I'll give. What are you, the pharmacist? Hey, you got 5 Hail Marys. You do this. I'll talk.
Yeah,
to
like
him,
really, that you're like prescription to still get into heaven. It's very, so clearly man-made.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that I think. And here's the issue I take with like in agreeing with you to further your point. You were saying where a lot of that stuff gets in the way of people's religiousness. I think they check the box.
Yeah.
They go, oh, I've gone to prayer, I've gone to mosque, I've gone to church, I've gone to whatever, and therefore I've completed sort of the religious aspects of my life towards being saved.
Yeah.
And now I'll go about my day and I'll post on Insta and I'll worry about materialism and money and maybe, not work on my spiritual depth or humility or really, really contemplate on my connection to everyone else and make their happiness as important as mine. That's the shit that's going to fulfill you and actually raise you to a higher vibration, right?
Yeah,
and so,
not the like busy work.
Yes,
so to
it's
speak,
busy
of
work.
Religion.
And that's why I think religion is decent. You know, I think would be the best religious training program is if they gave kids, I think it's for children. I think it's for children and ancient people who basically had a lot of the time, the intellect of, they got to the point of, in terms of the worldly knowledge, it was like children, right? I mean, compared to what we know now.
When I think with like commandments and stuff, I was like, yeah, no, those were made because at some point people were like bashing each other's heads in. And someone was like, hey, if you do that, you don't get to go to heaven.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool.
It's cool,
so
dude.
Don't kill each other.
What do they got up there? They got milk, rivers of milk. That's what the good.
Like,
What else?
There's gold in the street. It's like you don't have to buy anything. It's heaven.
Yeah.
What's the gold for?
There's rivers of honey. It's just, it literally sounds
Which is
like
such a weird.
yeah.
It sounds like a creepy place where pedophiles go take baths. When you describe it like that, and it's like, yeah, but that's what's in there. Like, yeah, milk and honey.
Yeah, it sounds like a 7th grader trying to win an election. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
like, there's gonna be root beer fountains. Yeah, so I think for me, and it just that stuff got in the way, and that's why when I first got into it, I was like, I don't think I had any moment of actual spiritual connection until I was probably like 24. So my entire life doing organized religion, I felt nothing.
It was just going through the
It was going through the
motions.
motions out of belief and faith. That's what faith is, right?
Oh.
Faith is, I think faith can be a concept of believe it even if you don't fucking really feel it
Yeah.
or see it.
Say you believe
Yeah.
it even though, like faith feels like say you believe it even though you don't feel like you believe it.
Is that what faith means? How about connection, you know? So for me, I just was keeping the faith.
Yeah.
And then I got tired of keeping the faith because my rational mind got too much. And I was like, you know what? I just feel in my heart of hearts, this isn't real. I'm over it. And then ironically enough, it's like the more and more I dipped into doing everything that was like, forbidden, partying and psychedelic trips and everything else. And then reading a ton of philosophies because I just like reading stuff on philosophy, spiritual, Western, whatever,
Absolutely.
And then my deep dives into everything else that wasn't religion allowed me to have experiences where I felt a connection to something bigger or noticed nuances where
Like that quote God feeling or the
and kind of just feeling that connection between myself and the things around me. Just feeling something existing on a physical realm beyond our own is how I like to say it. That's all religion has to be really is do you feel a connection? Do you feel anything is happening on a physical realm beyond our physical means of perceiving it?
Yeah, and it's like, and if praying 5 times a day or et cetera, whatever, following the rules gets you there, that's great. If doing the steps is what makes you connect to people, connect to that higher vibration or whatever you want to call it, then that's fine. I was the same way. Like I thought when I got out of Catholicism, like if you would have told me when I was like, yeah, no, this isn't for me, I would never have thought that I would feel a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't go looking for quote God.
Yeah.
Like, or whatever. I don't even know what I call what I feel.
Yeah.
I hate being like, I'm spiritual because it's such a like funny stereotype of LA people, but it's like, yeah, I'm not like atheist, but I don't know what to tell. I'm like, it's love. And I don't know how else to describe what.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Sorry, I derailed.
No, it's all good.
So you said 24 was the first time you started feeling any type of...
Yeah, like somewhere around there, give or take a year or two. I can't remember, but my point was, I think what I was trying to get to was, ironically, it was like the deeper dives, and this also to be fucking cliche right now, it's hotter than ever right now, but I've been talking about this stuff since I was 16. Psychedelics. Like I was doing mushrooms when I was 16. I was doing mushrooms before I drank.
Wow.
Yeah, when I was like 15,
technically
16.
it's just a vegetable.
Yeah.
I'm not cheating.
Yeah, it's on pizza. But this one is different.
Yeah, no pepperoni.
Yeah.
You're
It,
just putting-
it didn't say no mushrooms. Yeah. And so I had been doing mushrooms since I was 16 years old. And that already, I think, is what kind of started developing my perception of things and questioning on such a
the
deeper
questioning
way.
of the like religious steps and
Yeah,
et cetera.
coupled with the comic personality, and then I think when I got more into that stuff and got more into like meditation, so then when I was like, okay, this isn't what I do, but what do I do? Do I want to just take time to try to cultivate, I don't know, whatever I need to cultivate inside of me? People seem to be into that concept. Let me just go do that. And I like going into the woods a lot and doing psychedelics. So I'll do that shit. And after a couple of times of doing that through certain years, I started to have some just feelings and I don't know, man. Like, I guess the equivalent of like, minute versions of whatever revelation prophets had, whether it was Buddha under the tree or Muhammad in the cave.
Yeah,
or,
the amount of things that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but so
I'm just so excited about it. 'Cause I'm like, yes, me too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's like, so those moments happen when I didn't take the religious check in the box for granted and I did that shit. And then I was like, oh shit, I just felt something and think I got a deeper understanding of something that might be happening here. And that's why I like talking about it vaguely, to quote you, as like spiritual, but it's like just the feeling that something's going on. And then I dove deeper and deeper into that. And now I have like really flushed out ideas of what I think this all is and what we're supposed to be, what this all is and what like we're supposed to be doing.
Is it a
here.
simulation? Tell me.
I don't think it's a simulation.
Wait, I want to go into what you think it is. So how many, do you know how many like psychedelic experiences you partook in before you had like what you would call like a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience?
No, I wouldn't be able to keep track. At least
Okay.
at least 20 though. I mean, starting from 15 and then it happened.
Okay, Ram Dass. Fucking
yeah, at least 20. I mean, I did. Yeah, at least 20.
damn.
But this between from 15 to 24. I mean, is that many?
I guess not. When you really,
Yeah.
it's more. I'm more like I just don't do it enough.
Yeah.
I would do shrooms a lot more if I wasn't a workaholic. That's the only thing keeping me from being. I'm like because I try to make it. Anytime I do any type of psychedelic, which I've only ever done shrooms, but I'm very like, I want to like create space for it. Like I want to take a couple of days and like get ready and like have time to like unwind and process my thoughts. And that
Yeah.
to me is like, I don't have time. Maybe in a few months when it's like doesn't
Which is
need to
exactly
be.
the point.
Yeah,
right? Is
exactly.
that, yeah, no, that's hilarious. And that's the thing is like now, and I don't believe that I'm not like some of these comics are the people that are doing this shit like every month and think you have to do it to get to wherever you need to get to. I think that if you do them and they open the doors and you start to feel it, you should actually take breaks and start to cultivate that feeling and that perception on an organic, natural level. And
Oh
then
yeah, without like
without
using the
it.
drugs. Because
and then go back every now and then. But
So funny. I was just talking to someone else about this of like,
yeah.
yeah, because it does to me, it sort of opens that door of this is a feeling that is inside of you. You're capable of this. Or
Mhm.
like, I feel like the first time I did it, because I don't know about you, and maybe it's part of like a comic brain,
Mm-hmm.
but just this sort of overwhelming, like emotional, like love feeling I felt the first time I like really tripped of just, I was like crying, not like thinking about anything and like sobbing, but I was literally just like looking up at the stars and like just my face was pouring. And I just felt like so much, I guess,
Yeah.
where you just feel this like,
Yeah.
even though I'm not walking around constantly feeling at that level, something about doing shrooms made me feel less crazy. Like,
Mhm.
because I've always felt, I guess, it's like we are a little different than normal. That's why we end up questioning religion or like
Mhm.
going different ways. Is like, I've always had this fear of like, oh, is this insane?
Yeah.
And then that, like, having that feeling of like being connected to things and just having almost like these downloads. I don't know what else to call them because it's not like robotic,
Yeah.
but
It could be.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I'm really derailing here.
Yeah.
Like, where is this going, you lunatic?
I mean, from what I'm picking up, it's like, are you trying to say like, what exact feelings was I having when I had the experience? Or,
I mean, I
or
guess.
are you just sharing
yeah,
it? Or you could just be sharing yours, and that's fine.
I was, but I want
That's
to
fine.
get back to you because there was a point, and I just started thinking about that feeling when you're really high on mushrooms. And
I know
was
you-
like, man,
you-
I miss that.
I know. I could see from your. I'm not gonna lie. Your pupils dilated a little bit from like
No.
the sense memory of
Well,
it.
no, because
They literally have.
I mean, that's a thing. Is that I guess going back to what you were saying is
Yeah.
learning how to cultivate
Mm.
that feeling,
That's
because
right.
I think we live in a culture where I think those feelings that you feel when you tap into like, a lot of people use psychedelics to reach those feelings, or that's sometimes the first time you really
Mhm.
fully feel whatever feeling.
Yeah.
We're kind of in a culture where even if it's inadvertent, we're taught to suppress some of that. So I guess learning to like open up
Accept
that much
it.
in like everyday life.
Yeah, I think that they definitely teach you that, and it's happening on whether you want to call it a spiritual. Here's what's funny thing, right? Is people constantly feel like there has to be some kind of battle between is Western science able to apply a term to these concepts we're talking about, and if so, then it's real. But a lot of the
Ugh.
times, we're talking about the same thing, but Eastern science or spiritual metaphysical talk is just using different terminology to describe a thing that then Western science comes along and says, oh yeah, this and this happened, and that's why you're feeling this. And we're like, okay, we don't care what you call it. All
Yeah,
we're
we don't
saying
care
is,
what part of the brain lit up.
yeah, we're just saying this thing happened and now you can do this. And they're like, oh yeah, it does, but it's called this. Like, here's an example. Because I was a personal trainer for a long time, right? So I studied
wow,
like,
that's right.
so I studied, I was a corrective exercise specialist. So I studied a lot of how to get rid of inflammation and knots, and they're called adhesions. Okay.
my
Like
God.
when you get knots in your back and shit.
Teach me.
Yeah. So
You have taught me some stuff, actually. Not taught me, but like,
Yeah.
I think you were the first person to tell me about rollers or like
oh,
rolling
yeah, foam
out.
rolling?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
God.
for example. So when you get knots in your back, right, and you go to a Western massage therapist, they'll go, oh, like first for centuries, Chinese medicine would be like, oh, there's chi blockages happening in your back and stuff. And if we press on these chi blockages,
It releases
it'll
the energy.
Yeah, and you'll be healthier. And then Western science is like, that's bullshit for 100 years. And then Western science comes along and goes, oh no, it's actually called inflammation. And when you press on it, it releases inflammation, and that can lower cancer rates, stress levels, improve your mood, improve your health. And we're like, all right, bitch, what are we arguing semantics for? You press the chi, you press the inflammation, you feel better, right? That's what this guy's saying.
Yeah,
You get the
it's like
gist.
the
what are
same
we?
thing.
Yeah, are we married? What are we fighting about right now?
Oh, God.
And that happens on a macro level on so many different things.
Yeah,
you
I was
know?
trying to, because gosh, I wish I could think of an example right now, but you're right. There's so many things where, and someone tries to come along and like give it scientific terms, and
Mhm.
and that's always like a thing where it's like, yeah, I don't care
Right, yeah.
why it's like that. Well, even that with like with inflammation, though, when you go back to like chi, because I've always had a feeling of, because I have rheumatoid arthritis,
Right.
and like the more I've like learned about it and the more, not even like reading, just listening to my body, reading as well, but just getting more spiritual or whatever, having these experiences. Like, I think that so much of my body issues come from my emotions, like emotional suppression.
Yeah.
And then there's now starting to be research about like, well, this and that, but
100%. That's the thing, is the science is coming out more and more and more, to the point where, 3 years ago, I got my acupuncture covered by my insurance.
That's
Kaiser
amazing.
Permanente covers acupuncture. A decade ago, Western medicine scoffed at the idea of acupuncture, because now they're like, oh, it turns out there is science. We didn't believe it when these Asians were talking about energy. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's a level of arrogance that comes in. Trust me, I'm a science fucking person. Like, I believe in
Yeah.
science. I just think that people think there's a battle happening that isn't really happening.
Yeah, well, it's like if you say anything from either Eastern medicine or even sometimes just intuition, because I don't like to talk about that stuff with like my inflammation a lot, because there are people who be like, oh, that's really fucking dismissive of autoimmune diseases, and it's like,
Right.
all right, well, there's no science telling us where they come from, so maybe they come from trauma, like, but
Yeah. I mean, trauma can cause cancer. I mean, your body can get fucked up from so many things, And with going back to what you were saying about the mushrooms, just to wind up that thought before I forget it, was your brain lighting up or all that, or feeling spirituality or feeling the other side, right? Like, there's things that we were trying to describe on, like, basically our tools of perception get enhanced to a level where
more of your brain is open.
And exactly. And now science proven with experiments with rats that psychedelic mushrooms cause neurogenesis. You actually increase your neural pathways and your brain is growing, and God knows what else they're going to figure out.
Well, yeah, and like you really do learn things. And that's why I said the download thing, because I don't know a better word for it. Not that it feels, again, robotic, but it is like you do have these realizations. Or sometimes there's things that you've been told that are very common, phrases of, all we need is love, or like how you got to love yourself first to have a partner, but then like you'll actually like you'll actually understand that fully all of a sudden, and you're like, oh, that's a thing.
Yeah, gnosis. It's knowledge through experience. I think that's Aristotle. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe, I think so. If I'm wrong about that, some philosophy guy can correct me. But gnosis, the idea of like there's a way of knowing something through reading it and cognitively understanding it, versus gnosis, like knowing it through experience, and then you really fucking
like then you know it.
Yeah. Then you
because there's like the things of like, like that. And the more that's happening, the more I find myself describing things. God, this is going to sound totally insane because I don't know the best way to phrase this. Things that I feel like there's things I'll describe. I'll go like, I mean, logically, I understand why this. It's almost like I'm acknowledging that like it hasn't sunk in yet. But it's like, but I don't feel. Anyways, I've derailed.
Yeah. Feelings and logic don't always add up.
No, but or like trying to explain intuition without having the tools to explain it.
Yeah.
Like when you do just know something, but you don't. Do you ever have things that you feel like you can't put words around? And that's like, especially as a comedian, when you talk for a living and you're a very verbose person, and then you go, I just know.
Do you have an example of a specific time or anything?
I'm trying to remember specific feelings. Like a lot, they have happened sometimes like on mushrooms.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's the
there's things that happen to me on mushrooms that I cannot put into words.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm having, I don't know what else to say, but like some sort of like a cosmic conversation. I mean, I literally will sit under the stars and feel like I'm communicating with them, but at no point am I thinking of like English words, but I'm also not thinking in words at all. It's just this
you're
like
thinking in thoughts.
Yeah. You're just like, it's like a feeling. It's like a next level.
Yeah. And then you have like visions, revelations. That's a really interesting thing. A friend of mine, was a philosophy doctorate candidate, and he and I have really long conversations about this. And he's also like my best friends. We did mushrooms together for the first time when we were 15.
Amazing.
And we've been best friends since we were 5 years old.
Incredible.
And we'll go on phone conversations for hours, like every week. And he told me about one dude. Some guy wrote a book that was basically a philosopher wrote a book. And he's kind of a philosopher on the fringe, and this might have been like 60 years ago or something. But he wrote a book that's basically summing up that these visions, that the commonality between all the visions, the different prophets, messengers of God all have, be it like, Buddha or Muhammad or whoever, or Jesus, whoever.
The
or
root of it just being like,
Moses.
we have to love each other.
Yeah, but also the root of it being that the message came when they were in isolation. That you get to connect with whatever the divine is when you get away from everything and you just look inward and you go meditate. Moses on the cliff or the hill or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So and then the next step being, they explain it as God or the thing coming down. We keep thinking it's out there, it's up there. What if it's inside of us? What if the another realm, the other realm isn't external? It's actually internal on the other side of your subconscious.
Oh, I would
You know?
totally. That makes that makes so much sense to me because it's almost like a little. It's so funny. I keep trying to use visuals and there's just not visuals to describe it, but there are like things that occur to you, and it's like you unwrapped something in your brain. Like it's like it was there the whole time.
Yeah.
But
It's in
it's
there.
like you're almost remembering something that you always knew, which
Yes.
sounds so
Bumper
woo
sticker?
woo. Yeah, like
it's very roomy-ish.
but it's I don't know. I don't know. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I think that people, and even like us, we're so quick to almost try to say something and then backpedal off whether we feel it's woo-woo or spiritual or
Yeah,
so
see,
LA.
I still judge every thought I have. I'm like,
Yeah.
fucking hippie.
Yeah, totally. And I understand that. And I'm like that way too. But I'm trying to get better about being like, fuck it, But I think the reason we get that way is because there's a lot of people who say stuff like this, but they're the equivalent of someone who does comedy once every 2 weeks and says they're a comic, right? So like if you're someone
Yeah.
that's actually diving into this shit and your thoughts are formulated off of deep research and actual personal introspection, you can say shit like,
Yeah.
no, I'm actually spiritual, or no,
It's the-
I actually read about this stuff. This is like a big hobby of mine.
Yes,
know?
no. I've always that's like the main thing I do is just like
Mm-hmm.
either read about this kind of stuff or just sit and think. I mean, if I even allow myself to have free time.
Yeah, sounds like you need to.
Now I know, but like it's when I tell people I don't really watch TV,
Mm-hmm.
it's not because I'm like "Ugh, TV rots your mind, but it's like
Right.
anytime I try to think like what do I do in my free time, I'm
Mhm.
like I just dive internally. And it's like no wonder I sometimes go crazy.
Yeah.
So I'll be like just taking a trip into the old brain.
Let's just go surf the old subconscious. But that's where all of it lies, though. And that's where I think the deeper you go into introspection, and that's why I think like if you do take a break from, even if you are an organized religious person, if you take a break, pretend that doesn't exist, and you dive into your deep self and just look at meditation and just sit with your thoughts away from people and just watch what the
yes.
fuck happens. Do that for an hour a day for 2 weeks and watch what the fuck happens. Work your way up to an hour. I get it. It sounds
no,
crazy.
I did it. I went to a 10-day silent meditation.
Oh
It was
man,
fucking
that must have been crazy.
Well, that's the thing is like, and just in our society, a lot of people just don't take time to
Mm-hmm.
be with their thoughts at all. I mean, that's why TV and stuff's so popular. It's a way to like check out without really like being stuck with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
etc. But I think that's where I like sort of my hang up is the, even though like we're in LA where it's arguably a little more popular to be like spiritual and into this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like so many people don't do it that if I like get too deep in a conversation about it, people are like, oh, she's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you've never meditated, if you've never like sat alone, like just sat with your thoughts and like just pondered life, and then you
Right.
try to talk to somebody who's like, yeah, no, I pretty much come home from work at 6 p.m., turn on the old TV, have a beer,
Right.
and then pass out. Like, I
Yeah.
don't.
And yeah, they're like, oh, you're one of those peeps. Because they also don't know the line between you and someone who just did like 10 hits ayahuasca at Burning Man.
And
right?
they're just
like,
trying to,
a wook
and
or
they're
some
trying to
shit.
make their personality.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too, is like
Yeah.
worrying about those people who it's what I guess what you said with the person who does comedy once a month, but people who want their identity to be spiritual.
They're
but
trying it on.
yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
you're wearing
It's an outfit choice.
yeah, you're wearing a crown made of flowers, but like
Yeah.
if you had to be alone with yourself for 5 minutes, you'd have a panic attack.
Yeah. It's like when I went to Burning Man, and it was like, I wanted it to be kind of it's a root of what it was supposed to be, kind of a getaway and like have fun, party, go crazy, whatever, but also just, look inward a lot of the time. And then you just see people doing full on photo shoots for their Instagram later nowadays.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh God, come on, man. This is a chance to really do something cool and really look inside. But to circle back to what we were saying before about, so after I did these psychedelics and I found this level of that, then I started to find quotes and essays by people that were correlating with a lot of the internal concepts and beliefs I'd cooked up on my own through my own ideas.
Yes, where
And-
you're like, oh, I'm not the first person who's
Right.
thought this.
And then a lot of them ended up being Muslim Sufi scholars. and so I brought me back around where I was like Rumi, Hafiz, all these people that are all over every girl's fucking Instagram quote. These are
Rumi.
Yeah, Rumi's a Muslim scholar. He had his own mosque in Iran.
Whoa.
People don't realize that because here's the thing: when people think about Islam, this is a really good point for this podcast. People think about Islam, they think about what it is right now and what emerged in the 90s and with the emerge of Wahhabism from Osama bin Laden, who was put in power, from the Taliban in America.
the scary.
You think of the scary shit, right? But here's another thing: is that obviously that's only one sect of it that's the loudest thing, and that's a small percentage. But nonetheless,
the loudest thing is rarely
it's always the worst.
The thing that most people are.
It's always the worst.
Yeah.
Whether it's the loudest Trump supporter who's the worst, the loudest weird Christian guy in the church yelling fags are going to hell, or the loudest, the really
the loudest feminist is the worst.
The loudest feminist is the worst. The loudest dude out of Compton listening to shit on his phone in the subway in full volume.
The loudest person who, in theory, I
they're the
probably
worst.
mostly agree with is usually okay, that was too far.
Yeah, exactly. So but there's Sufism, which is basically mysticism, and so then I started to circle back to mysticism across. And again, I don't subscribe to any one. Is it subscribe or ascribe to any one religion? But it's
Good question.
But mysticism in general is something that I find I have a few toes in that pond that correlate with what I believe internally.
Oh yeah, that's the same as Kabbalah.
Yeah, Kabbalah.
That's Jewish mysticism,
yeah,
right?
there's Hindu mysticism. Most religions have their branch of mysticism, and the correlation between all of those branches is so similar,
Oh my
and
God,
it's
are we
very
mystics?
loose. I mean, close. Hopefully, close to a modern mystic. Now, if there's any real mystics, they're like, no, bitch, y'all got some work to do.
I know. It's like anytime I try to be like, could I be on the path to enlightenment? It's like, I farted on a dog once, and I think it's funny. Like that didn't happen. Don't come for me, PETA. But it's like, the idea that I could be like, maybe I'm becoming enlightened as I eat Cheetos is like, okay, relax.
I don't think so. Yeah, but that's one reason why. And then there's another Muslim scholar who was a big Sufi scholar named Hafiz, and he has a lot of quotes too. And one of his quotes was like, I can't even say with what religion to say I am because of the love I have for all of them or for all people.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like that's basically what the feather I try to put in my cap when I get cornered by people, or especially if I do a lot of Muslim shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And people, are you Muslim? Are you not? And they're like, look, I don't know what to tell you I am, but there's plenty of stuff that you believe that I think is correct. I think that you maybe have some growth to do in other aspects. You know what I mean? But there's plenty of
that's
stuff.
your journey, man, and I support it.
Yeah, and they're just like, all right, that's cool. So I'm just like, I just believe things in percentages, but I just think it was funny that my journey through everything else brought me through just coincidence back to some writings that I was like, oh shit, there's another aspect to, because I was only taught normal mainstream, Islam stuff. It's like mainstream Christian. It's like if you're taught mainstream Jewish stuff, and then all of a sudden you discovered Kabbalah, and you're like, oh shit, this is kind of cool and weird, and somehow it speaks to me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I got to with that stuff.
I wonder, is there a Christian mysticism?
Christian.
Probably not.
Yeah, isn't there Christian
Isn't
mysticism?
that what the Westboro Baptist Church is?
Oh no, God. Those guys are the Christian Al Qaeda's in my book.
I mean, they truly are.
They're
and
so
I'm sure
gross.
it probably gets even worse than that with churches that don't have a PR team.
Oh yeah.
But that's always been the weird thing to me. When you, as a Muslim, being, I assume high school, middle school age with 9/11 time.
Mm-hmm.
How was that hard for you? Was that weird? Oh, I guess if you're,
It was middle school. It was 8th grade.
You guys were you were at a Muslim school.
I was in Muslim. We got shut down for 3 weeks because we got a bunch of bomb threats and people wanted to we were getting death threats.
Oh, people were threatening
to kill us. And I'm trying to find the joke in it. Yeah. I've tried to write this bit for a long time. And
you're like, a middle schooler didn't hijack the plane, you fucking idiots.
Yeah, and I've tried to go in the direction of the irony of it. I just thought, the terrorist attack happened and we started getting bomb threats and people are like, we don't want any terrorists in this town, so we're going to blow up this school. And even at 12, I was like, is this irony?
Yeah, you're like, sorry, you're doing the thing that you don't want to happen. Do you not see?
Yeah, that was weird because then my mom also just, obviously people were scared and hate crimes went up and this and that, probably for Sikhs more than Muslims, poor dudes.
Oh, because of they wear the head.
Yeah, people still don't realize we don't wear turbans.
That's so funny.
Yeah, they just,
because there was probably times where just seeing someone in a turban gave rednecks anxiety or anyone because they're just ignorant and they're like, what is that?
It's different. Kill it.
Oh my God. I
but
don't like it.
I don't like it because it's
And
different.
your mom just made you guys wear sombreros and she's like, we're Mexican now,
Yeah.
kids.
She put this mustache on me.
Yeah, blend in.
No, you know what my mom made me do? We put all these Muslim people, every Muslim
American
person,
flags?
everywhere. Yeah, American flags in front of the house. We got tiny American flags, and my mom duct taped them, 4 of them onto one on each handlebar, one on the back, and one on the front of my bike. I had 4 American flags on my fucking Huffy, just so I could bike 2 miles down to the pizza shop that me and my buddy
and
bike
your
to.
mom wouldn't feel as worried.
Yeah, like we're not gonna get a hate crime. Oh, we're on your team because you might not be sure or something. It was weird, but I don't know, man. I've always had like pretty thick skin where even when that was all happening, I was just kind of like, I didn't do anything. I'll be fine.
I'll be fine. So
Yeah.
you weren't too worried.
I was never worried. I don't think I was ever worried at all.
Have you ever met anyone who's like that extreme?
Like what kind of extreme?
A Muslim extremist, Islamic. I mean, I imagine they wouldn't be living in Western society.
No, I've never met somebody who's
'Cause
like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's like I've never met
all the
anybody.
ignorant things I'm going to say, I can't ask you because you've never, like, I can't be like,
No, we don't go for it.
here's why.
But these
No.
are questions people have. Like I did a show one time, and I did a show for a mosque fundraiser, and before me there was like the local imam, like the sheikh guy, he's the
Yeah.
religious cleric, and he had a long ass beard, and he had the traditional
Big,
garb and the
like,
hat, and
robe.
he gave a whole thing about like the blessings of donating to the mosque and whatnot, and then they raised
Yeah.
a bunch of money for the mosque and school and shit, and then I did comedy, but the sound guy was not Muslim. The sound guy was just like an older white dude.
Some dude.
Some dude. And I just did like a bunch of, from my comedy, he could just tell like this guy's like super modern. He's like, that was funny, man. He's like, have you ever met someone that's like this? He's like, some of these guys, they know about this terrorist stuff though, right? And I was like, no. He's like, well, I know not you. But he's like, but these
Like
clerics.
The beard guy.
Yeah, the
He's,
beard
like,
guy.
in on it.
Yeah, the imam. He was
Oh,
like,
no.
he's like, but they know like if there's extremist types, ISIS type potential recruits in the thing, these guys are like connected. I'm like, no, bro. Like, no. I was
that's
like,
so-
absolutely not. This guy's just a guy. He's like the priest of the community. He's a good guy. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Wow,
but
that's so interesting. So he
yeah.
thought that like he's connected.
He at least knows. He's like, he at least knows. He didn't think he was a terrorist. I know he's not a terrorist, but he like knows who's terrorist potential.
That makes me think though, because like,
And I was like,
I grew up
no,
Catholic,
man.
and I go like, they must have all known who the pedophiles were, right? Like, well,
Right.
but also, but in
Maybe that's what he
Catholicism,
thinks.
there is like this, and I'm not qualified enough to be saying this, but there is like this network of like the bishops all like know each other because you get promoted within the.
Yeah.
But wow, to just be like, obviously, this guy who runs this place
Knows
of
somebody.
love and worship
Right.
is
And-
like knows who the terrorists are.
Yeah, and that was definitely a moment, and I'm always pretty. I stay calm, and I stay calm all the time. But that was definitely a moment where I was just so
Shocked and
shocked
how
and like irked, and not necessarily at him, right? Because he wasn't trying to say. Again, I always go with someone's intention. He wasn't trying to say something mean. I was just so irked with the reality that had befallen upon me that I was like, oh shit, these people think that they think that these places are actually, there's always a couple ISIS-y kind of guys lingering about, and we all kind of know who it is, but we don't say anything. It's like, no, if anybody has any idea of anybody that's like that, they report them
yeah,
immediately.
like we
to
don't
the-
want to be
whatever.
blown up either. We don't
Yeah.
want that reputation to like keep following us around because
that's
there's a
crazy.
small, because it's like a super small sect, right?
ISIS kills more Muslims than they do anybody else. You realize
Oh,
this?
wow.
That's
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
in the hundreds.
I should read
yeah.
the news.
And in Pakistan, when I was there 7 years ago visiting my cousins, and I was asking my cousin, how dangerous is it really? And he's like, well, and he was totally serious, but there's something darkly hilarious about this to me. He was like, well, once a week, a suicide bomber blows up a mosque.
Jesus.
But if you're not at that mosque, you're fine. And he was
just don't go to a church.
He was dead serious. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my God. And that's when it hit me that I was like, oh, these guys are just blowing up mosques all the time. Like,
yeah,
it's
wow.
when they're like,
yeah, they're just terrorists.
yeah, it's wild. So like,
Wow.
yeah, so that was strange. But then what did you ask? Did you ask if I ever met anybody like that? So here's the thing. I never met anybody who
Yeah, but also, who is going to come? It's the same as like
Yeah.
a million people met a school shooter. No one was like,
right.
well, I guess there are sometimes. That's a bad example. Like,
Right.
no, he did tell me he was going to shoot up the school.
Yeah, I never met anybody who was like, I think these people should die. So I did meet people that like where they liked Osama bin Laden, which is like the
Whoa.
closest it got. Like, but this is like a young kid. When we were like 11.
his ideals or like
Here's the thing.
just him as a fugitive character?
No, he liked him because here's the thing about Bin Laden is like obviously like the terrorism stuff he all did is the worst fucking thing you can possibly imagine, and anything that has to do with that type of shit or suppressing
Yeah,
women. or
anyone
anything.
doing anything like that.
On the opposite side of that, him and his family spent millions of dollars on building up the infrastructures and school systems all around different areas of Saudi Arabia and
Whoa.
Yemen and a bunch of other poor places. So
That is like a weird.
yeah, so it's been so people are like
It's Bill Cosby. It's different, but it's like
Yeah. It's Bill Cosby. Yeah. So there's people who are like, yeah, that thing he did was horrible, but I got some good laughs from Dr. Huxtable.
yeah.
Yeah. But do you know what it's like? It's like
Yeah,
Pablo-
but I mean, he's the only reason everyone in this city went to school. But like, I mean, I don't agree with
Yeah.
him,
yeah.
but I'm glad that he was trying to cover it by doing good stuff.
Right.
That's nice.
Right. It's like the people in Medellin protected Pablo Escobar because
Yeah.
Pablo Escobar would go on the streets and give money to everybody and build schools and arguably it could have been a tactic to get the popular vote too.
Oh,
right? 'Cause
absolutely.
He knows he's protected. He builds schools. He's built him and his family were like the wealthiest family. So they would like donate to the, build up some of the most popular famous mosques in the world.
Well, yeah, and then
in
you're
that
like
area.
connected, and these people feel
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I won't tell anyone, or
Yeah.
in any scenario like that, which it happens so frequently, I think, in society, just across the board, that nowadays I'm skeptical of anyone who's like a really like publicly good person.
Yeah. Like, what do you want?
Because it's like, what are you covering? if
Who did
you're,
you
like-
touch?
Yeah, like you fingered somebody.
Yeah, you
that
fingered
shouldn't
somebody
have.
once.
Like a minor.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah, that stuff goes so deep though. Like I know so much about all that. Like beyond Islam, like I know so much about Middle Eastern politics, extremism, the nature of Al Qaeda. Like do you know I got into the CIA after college? Do you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I got it. So I'm like, I had a very deep knowledge on Middle East conflict and all that stuff. to
Oh,
the
do you
point
speak
where-
another language?
I speak Urdu,
Oh.
which is what they speak in Pakistan.
Which
parts-
was
parts of
probably in
Afghanistan.
theory helpful to the CIA.
It was definitely
because that
helpful.
would have like I imagine they were recruiting people to
It was definitely helpful. Yeah, it was like that. I got hired as a counterterrorism
be
analyst.
sloppy spies.
Yeah.
Counterterrorism analyst. Does that mean spy?
I think it's like you work with spies, and if you want to, you can work your way up to being a spook. But I didn't really ever want to be a
that what they're
spook.
called?
Spook is a term for yeah.
It's
I
a
know.
racial
I know it's a
slur
racial
from
term
the
for black people
50s
too.
or whatever.
Yeah, but it's
I
Yeah.
was like,
Don't say that. Yeah, I was gonna work my way up to being. No, it's a term for spies.
Okay.
Like assassins.
Oh, you
spies
got
like
in?
guys. Yeah, I was hired.
am I
as a-
allowed to ask what the test is like, or are you like sworn to secrecy?
Yeah, no, I can. I don't owe those people anything. No,
It's like I imagine like an intellectual,
I went through like
some type of psych exam, or
Yeah, I went through like probably like 25 hours of interviews. I had to give presentations on how I would solve 3 different world crises. So I talked about the emergence of cyber terrorism out of China, the drug trafficking trades through South America, and separating Al Qaeda from the Taliban in the Middle East. And I had to do.
and they were like, cha-ching.
Yeah, because I was like super into it. Even though I was like party guy, and I got up and read the whole Wall Street Journal at 8 a.m. every day in college, and like I was like deeply nerdy about political science shit,
Wow.
Yeah, I
what
was
was your major?
political science and,
Okay.
and theater,
Oh.
and theater. So
Which is why you're perfect for the CIA.
Yeah,
You're like,
so-
and he can play any
Yes.
character.
It'll be my final act. So then I had to do like IQ tests and then standardized tests and essays, and then they made me fill out a packet that literally was, I'm not joking. I had to fill out a thing that was to give the information of everybody I have ever met everywhere, ever. Do you know how fucking hard that is?
Wow.
So it's like, especially anyone who lives in another country, anyone you know that lives in another country.
Because it's like in theory, if they hire you, that person is potentially a risk or at risk or.
They probably want to go investigate all of them, So I had to fill out a packet of all my cousins. They're like, list all your cousins in Pakistan. I was like, do you know how much?
You're like, that's like
Pakistan
half of
people-
Pakistan.
Yeah, I was like, do you know how much Pakistani people fuck? Every one of my cousins has 6 kids, and
And this was
Yeah.
before 23andMe. And
Yeah.
I'm not giving you my DNA because then we've blown the whole thing.
yeah, how about I just give you my 23andMe and you figure it out now?
Yeah.
Now we could just do that, right? So yeah, I had that stuff, and then I was hired there, and they were gonna take me to. I was gonna go work at Liberty Crossing, and then they
Where's
speeded
Liberty
up-
Crossing?
Liberty Crossing is a place in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
That's the way that the buildings look. They call it that, but it's like
Okay.
it's outside of Langley.
Okay.
It's like not Langley, but it's close.
Okay.
Driving distance, and then I was supposed to get started, and then I was like, but here's the thing, I'd already wanted to do. People told me it's going to take at least a year and a half to 2 years for the background checks to go through, and I'd already.
Those people were in Pakistani.
Yeah, those people did not speak Urdu and have a 3.9.
Yeah. They're like, you're approved. It's the same hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing was, so there was rubrics for how they grade you. It's like all the stuff I described, but also it was like, what's your GPA, language skills? Have you traveled? And I had been to 12, I studied abroad. So I'd been to like 12 countries also at that time.
Wow.
And I knew Hungarian, conversational Hungarian at the time because I studied.
Damn.
I was in Budapest. I was studying international law courses in Budapest between just losing my mind in fucking
You're just
Eastern
like,
Europe.
I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
I'll study something.
Yeah. And then what was I saying? And then so after I did all that, then I was like, well, you know what? I want to try this comedy thing for realsies. I think they say I should have at least a year before the background check clears.
So you're like, I'm going to lean into comedy and thinking like, I'll know.
Yeah, after a year, I'll have a year to see what this is. And then if I don't see growth or it seems crazy and then I get accepted in a year or 2 years, then I'll have that option. And then within like 3 months, they hit me up and they're like, yeah, come to this other test. You're in the finals. And then they're like, yeah, you're hired. I have the letter at home still. Here's your pay. Here's your clearance level. Here's your this and that.
Do you think you could at any point like reach back out to them and be like, hey, I changed my mind. I want to come back?
I don't think they'd let me in because of how deep in comedy I am now, that they'd be like, there's too much chance this is going to become a fucking YouTube video or something.
That's true.
I wouldn't trust a comedian after
Yeah,
my
me
life.
neither. And it's also like if what they're wanting is for you to like work alongside spies, you're like in theory a public figure, unless that's why you have that mustache on.
No, so you don't recognize me. No, that's the oldest disguise in the book.
Wow, what a different life you would have led.
I think about it every now and then too, because obviously I love comedy and I'm glad with this decision, but it's like when I hear about like they got Baghdadi or like, and then other ISIS people are like, you cannot defeat ISIS. We're going to come for you. Literally like my blood boils and I'm like,
because like, actually I had a whole plan.
Yeah.
And I know exactly how to do it.
Yeah. I think I'm always just like, yeah, I know exactly how to do it. I would have trained the dog. And a part of me like wants to be a part of that force that goes and catches and kills these fucking people. Like
that
I want to
just
kill
fucking
them.
just being bad people.
Bad people, and then also like making my people's lives harder by sullying the
like,
reputation of us. Yeah, like any racial shit we've had to deal with is because of these fucking assholes. On top of killing fucking Americans and killing people all over the world, and it just makes me so fucking upset. I want to just kill them all in horrible ways.
Do you ever have?
Fuck the Geneva Convention.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm for torture of them.
Oh, really?
Of them, yeah.
That's so funny. Do you ever have moments like in your spirituality?
Yeah.
Because I imagine, I don't know, what does your spirituality entail? Just because I'm thinking it goes something in the direction of love. Do you ever have any or do you ever have moments where you try to go like, could I possibly be empathetic? Have you ever tried to be like, not that you've accomplished it, but tried to wrap your mind around what the experience of someone who would be an extremist is?
Yeah.
To try to be like, is there some nugget of
becoming evil? Yeah.
Understanding I could find in someone like that?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I can rationally.
It doesn't have to be like Muslim, just like in general, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I took a class in college called Becoming Evil, and we analyzed
was that a theater or a political science class?
First, you put fingers on your head like the devil. Cruella. No, it was a poli-sci class, I believe.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it was like analyze dictators, Nazis.
Oh, and like what has led them to becoming
evil.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also it was an analysis on kind of the judgment of them as turning, like we think of Nazis as monsters, right? Or we think of terrorists as like monsters.
Like you don't see them as
humans
multidimensional figures. You just see them as awful.
And you definitely don't see it as something that you could have become if you were in the exact same situation.
Oh yeah, no, everyone thinks that like they would never, and most people would.
Exactly. Right?
Because most people will just follow orders.
Yeah. Everyone thinks it would be Tom Cruise and Valkyrie and try to kill Hitler. But it's like, no, you would have just probably been another Nazi.
You're like, yeah, no, it's me or them? Okay, well, just give me the gun then, I guess. Yeah. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
An apologetic Nazi.
Yeah. And
I have kids. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. My bad. Sorry about that.
Excuse me.
And so it was like a human analysis of, and it was a controversial class because it was like, can we take an empathetic look at the Nazis themselves, and in this case, let's say terrorists themselves being victims of circumstance? Is it unfortunate that a human life and a human soul took a turn down an avenue of such darkness and horror due to the circumstance in which they were born? You know?
Yeah. Or like how they were manipulated to.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of it all, right?
I mean, propaganda is there's a reason for the word propaganda. Like,
yeah, it's like if a kid was born and the second he was born, he was raped by his parents and then he was kept in a cage and poked and beaten his whole life. Then he became a shooter, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, fuck this guy, he's a shooter. But are we capable of looking at his story empathetically as he's a victim, though he's also the shooter? And yes, we're glad he's in jail or dead or whatever. Is there any point of being like, fuck, that's sad that this guy had that life?
That it led him to that.
And if I was that kid that was raped and in a cage, would I have been a shooter? And am I just blessed that I wasn't in a cage?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it was that, but for Nazis or terrorists or whatever. It was interesting. Yeah, for being 20 and learning that, it was really blowing
That's
my
around
mind.
the time that you gave up.
Yeah, probably within a year or two after that. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The prayer that they do 5 times a day, those people.
Yeah.
Is it the same every time? It's just the same prayer?
No, it's
or are you just praying?
This is what you're saying in certain places. What you're saying is the same. When you lean over, you say certain things, and when you go down and you kneel on the ground and put your forehead on the ground, that classic praying image that's before every terrorist movie. And they just show the mosque.
Damn them!
Yeah, you say the same. You say the same things in those places, but then when you're standing, you're reciting different. They're called surahs. Surahs are essentially sections of the Quran, passages.
Is there a specific one you're supposed to be doing, or you just choose?
You can do whatever you've memorized.
Okay, so it's not like Orange Theory, like it's different every day, but it's the same all around the world.
Yeah, no, it's not like it's like the Orange Theory of religion, and and yeah, it's like you say whatever you want, like standing up from the book, the Quran. And there's tons and tons of different surahs in there. It's a very long book. It's like if you were to recite passages of the Bible by heart, essentially. But you have to do it in Arabic, and that's what also bothered me was I don't speak Arabic, and I had to say all this stuff in Arabic, and I wasn't.
You were just saying sounds, basically.
I was just saying sounds, and like I could read what they meant, and I would read what they meant, but I still couldn't always remember what it was, and it just felt like another degree of separation, and that just bothered me. I was like, I don't like that Arabs have a leg up into this whole process being
more
easier.
Close to God because they know what they're saying.
Yeah, I was like, it's the same. It's the Christian. You confess and now you can commit sins. It's like helping your. Oh, it's kind of convenient that the Arabs invented the religion and you have to say the thing in Arabic. Like, you know what I mean?
Like, convenient.
Yeah, how convenient for you.
Of course that we would do that.
Yeah, how convenient.
Like
for
we
you.
can't just say a translation.
Yeah,
like,
no. Can I just say it in English if it means the same thing? Nope. You have to say it. You can't change anything because they're also like, don't change.
It's just
anything.
very like ritual, traditional.
That's what they're biggest on is don't change anything ever.
Just ever.
But it's starting to get like some tweaks here and there, but it's a thing, it's really hard to change any elements of it because that's like one of the number one rules of that religion was like, don't change anything ever.
Wow. I mean, that would make it difficult to connect if it's not your like native language.
Yeah, 100%.
Because then you're just, anyway.
Yeah. So then go back to your question of like concept of love or what do I think it all is like, I understand that it's like, it is love is a good way to put it. I see it more as you're here to contribute.
Yeah. Do you think everyone has a special or not special, specific contribution?
I think we're all part of a system of integers. Like a formula. And some of the formulas manifest themselves as pieces of shit, and some of them are heroes, and some of them are icons like Muhammad Ali.
But it's all part of the formula?
Yeah, but it's all like
people
system.
who are pieces of shit are just like, that's their role in the formula.
That's what they're doing. Yeah, it's just a thing. Or maybe it's a formula that is like, that's where it happened to go. But, you can enhance. It's like, I'm trying to speak about something that's happening on a ethereal quantum level with our terminology, right?
Yeah.
So like, I'm going to try my best at this.
I know. I mean, it sounds like what I was trying to say earlier, where I'm like, I don't really know the words for a lot of things that I just know.
Yeah. I think that we're like, essentially that this may all be a formula of some sort, if you want to call it a formula, and that we're all integers that interact with each other in different ways. And sometimes when those integers come together, they create more love, and certain integers can come together and create more love or connection or net positivity. And that's a good thing. That's all we ever want. And that's why you ever meet. That's why people like going to a concert, because
feel connected.
You feel connected to everyone, and
Because you're connected to that
Yeah.
song, and it's like
they're all connected to it, right? Because you're an integer, the people are the integer, the song is an integer, the musician is an integer, the stage, the Coachella is an integer. So
Yeah.
when all of the integers intersect and create harmony, that's when you feel bliss, or that's when you feel,
Yeah.
the highest sense of love.
It's like it's feeding off of itself.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, like you know what? If I put a song on your Bluetooth speaker and you just pump your hand in your room alone, that feels a lot different than if there's even 20 people in that room still doing it off a speaker.
Yeah.
You feel a
You
connection,
just like
right?
feel the connection.
Yeah, and I think that's take that if we scale out on that thing, I think that's kind of what's happening. Like you want to try to find ways to increase the synergy between you and everything around you. Like Ram Dass has a mantra that's like, I am loving awareness, right?
Oh, yes.
And that's like one of my main ones I'm trying to deal with right now. Every time I get fucking angry in traffic or something, I'm like, he's doing his thing. He's got to go wherever he's going.
It's not a personal attack.
Yeah,
It's-
that's not my thing to connect with right now, and that's the thing that's maybe I'm not supposed to connect with right now. It's just
Yeah.
a different integer. It's on its own thing. But like, I think that as long as you can take it upon yourself to try to provide as much connection for whatever's around you,
Yeah.
and be aware enough to take it in wherever it is, and then
When you
be
can, yeah.
and be aware enough to not be affected when there's a blockage in the connection. And that's then you can maintain your high vibration, maintain your awareness, and then you're setting yourself up for whatever success is. Be that success will give you more manifestation powers to build the life you want in this reality, or it will create an energy that will go on to the next level, whatever's beyond this,
Yeah.
to go on to a better reality or become a part of something we can't even begin to fathom on a
Like
quantum
bigger
level.
thing, like
Yeah.
ascending.
Yeah, I think that this is maybe a simulation, like a filter, like if you're pouring tea and it needs to catch all the shit.
Yeah.
This whole reality might be a thing where we're all things of tea and the shit will get caught, but the people that are able to be those non-leeches, those giving
Stuff
energies,
that goes through the tea
they'll
bag.
go through, and that's what's on the other side. Whatever
Wow.
created this, whatever this all is, I don't know, but I feel like it's an incubator for something that has to do with you being an integer of positivity and givingness. And when you do that, that's the morsel of what they need to build whatever's beyond this.
Yeah.
And that's why every religion, every philosophical thought is basically preaching: don't be a leech, be giving, be humble, and go do
It's
good
all
shit.
the same
That's it.
general message.
Yeah,
With just different rules and regulations.
yeah. I know it's a really far out thought,
What if
but that's kind of what I've come up with what I think is
what if
happening.
it's like Monsters Incorporated and they're using our joy to build some sort of terrible thing on the other side of whatever it is?
Yeah, like what if they want to catch all the shit I talked about and they want to burn it, and then they
Yeah,
just take
and
all
like,
the other
it's
stuff
all
and they go,
gone.
yes, and now we build
Just
the global
The
domination.
giant twirly mustache in the sky. Like,
Yeah.
ha ha.
Yes, now that I've got all of the homeless people that jerk off, I will build a giant subway where nothing but people jerking off to each other. And what if that's that's the afterlife?
That's so funny. Oh man. Do you do anything regularly to cultivate a spiritual practice?
Yeah, I try to make sure I meditate at least 5 minutes a day. And if I say 5, it often turns into like 15.
But as long as you take the time to go, I'm doing my 5 minutes right now.
Yeah, I never give myself an excuse not to do 5. Because if you say I'm not going to do 5 a day, you're just don't ever say that you are into meditation. You're just lying. You're not really into it. You want to be into it.
Yeah.
And because there's no excuse not to take
You can do
5 minutes.
5 minutes a day.
5 minutes. That's why I picked that time, because I wanted to give myself a no excuse time. And I'm like that with fitness too. If I can't get into the gym, I'll do 5 minutes.
Like I'll just go real hard for 5
Yeah.
minutes, and then at least I've moved.
And then at least I'm like, my balls are sweating. We're good, you know?
Yeah. And
I'll
by
just-
then you're kind of like kicked in. So you
then you do end up doing 10. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But also, it feels good to just get 5 minutes of intense running around. So
Yeah.
if nothing else, you're like, well, I moved.
yeah, you feel good. You feel
The
good.
balls are indeed sweating.
The
yes.
balls aren't good. Y'all just shadow box and do burpees for like 5 minutes. And then you're like, all right, I did it. I'll go shower now. And I feel a little bit better about myself.
Yeah, you just got out some of that excess energy.
Yeah,
Because I feel like when I don't work out, which has been pretty regularly lately,
Mm-hmm.
it's not good. Like the way my mental health is affected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Just
huge.
The way, how clear my mind is when I'm normally working out versus when I take
Mhm.
days off is
I-
insane.
I think that they're so connected, man. I think that like working out for me is part of my spiritual practice too. Like it's essentially a moving meditation. And I didn't realize that because I had worked out. I've been going to the gym 5 days a week since I was like 14 years old.
Yeah.
Until I was like 28. And then I got fucking busy
You're like,
doing
I
the
gotta
road.
overcome these jeans.
Yeah, overcome these
I
jeans.
gotta get
Yeah.
ripped.
I gotta get ripped. I got this weird Pakistani belly that comes out every now and then,
Oh,
you know?
like,
It's just extra. It's just extra tummy. It's just what happens,
I have
man.
that body. I think
you have
It's
a
like,
Pakistani
well,
man body?
Not to be the most ignorant person in the world because it's not the same place, but I've always said I have an Indian dad bod.
You have an Indian dad
But like
bod.
little
That's close
stick
enough.
arms and like a little belly,
Yeah.
which I based on,
Yeah.
I don't know, an Indian
You
man I
have
loved.
you have a Gujarati body.
Oh, that is what I have.
I didn't.
I
was
literally just
I was
thought-
building on your joke. I
I
wasn't
know
saying that.
you
Yeah.
were, but because I was gonna be like, which I based on the body of a guy I dated and that's what he was. So.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
But
But yeah,
so funny.
yeah. So I think those two things in terms of what do I do to cultivate it? Just try to keep working out, reading stuff,
Yeah.
meditating
open
small
mind.
amounts. Like I just try to do small amounts. I think I tended before to be like I got to do all this stuff or there's no point. And now I've become more of a like just do a little bit, do something, and it's better than nothing.
That's
you know?
where I'm at. And I was just saying this to someone is like I'm at a point where I've realized it's like, yeah, don't focus on that. Did I do everything? Just
Mhm.
do the one thing in front of you
Yeah,
and be grateful when you get that done. Because
Yeah.
I go like if I didn't do it all, I failed.
yeah,
And then I will do none of it.
yeah.
It's like
100%. You're setting yourself up to fail. And then also, dude, like these little mantras, as cheesy as it sounds, and I've never had like a mantra before literally 2 weeks ago. Like, but like
so-
this mantra of like, I am loving awareness thing.
it's
Every
so
time I
funny.
start
My
to get
last podcast was a self
Yeah.
love guru. And yeah, he started talking about it.
about that
Just
quote,
no, not that one. It was
Yeah.
I mean it was something
very similar.
very similar, but just mantras in general. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go, keep going.
But just like it's almost like it's gotten programmed in my subconscious now. And like, so I'm getting faster to turn to it after moments of anger at strangers.
Yes.
And that time is coming shorter and shorter and shorter. And I think it's just a matter of time before like I have a millisecond of
reaction.
anger before it just washes away with he's on his thing. I'm aware of it. I love him for whatever he's doing. We got to have assholes. You got to have ups and downs. So it's all a formula. If it's a
Well,
formula,
that's
it's
like
a wave.
neuro-linguistic programming. Like
Yeah.
you're creating a new pathway because like however you react to something, the more you do that, the more that becomes your normal reaction. So
Yeah, yeah,
if you've been
yeah.
an angry person, I mean, I've read books about it by, I don't know, Joe Dispenza has a book about it. Dispenza, I don't know how to say his last name.
Mhm.
Sorry. But yeah, just about how that's why you have to do mantras because it's not normal for you and you have to like create the pathway. You have to make it so your brain will go there first.
That's
Because
fascinating.
it'll go to the deeper one. And the more you do something, the deeper the neural pathway becomes.
That makes so much sense. Yeah, that I never thought about it that way or heard that, but that makes 100% sense. And like I never liked to do mantras
Because it seems corny.
because so even the word
But
I
it
don't even
seems
like the
like
word. It seems so
such,
fucking corny.
like cartoonish, like
Yeah.
motivational speakery.
Yeah,
But like, yeah, it is like saying a phrase over and over. It just really does ingrain it in your head. And what you were saying about how you're quicker to get to that now.
Mhm.
I have referenced this country song so many times in so many podcasts. It came out like a year ago. There's a Dierks Bentley song where he goes,
Getting drunk on a plane.
no, but that's a great one. And everyone should do that all the time.
Yeah.
It's called Burning Man, actually.
Oh, okay.
But he has a line where he goes, I still go crazy sometimes. Now I just don't stay there as long.
Mm.
And just that idea of like, the more you like focus on building that, like, I mean, emotional and spiritual and mental health is the same as physical. Like you have to work it out. Like, you
Mhm.
have to maintain it. You have to keep
Yeah.
actively working on it. So like, yeah, the more you are like focusing on positivity or like working on catching yourself in those emotions and going like, no,
Mm-hmm.
it's this, and I'm going to choose, like, I'm going to like respond with love.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does get easier and
Yeah.
easier.
I think so. It's like choosing to eat healthy throughout the day.
Yeah.
Like it's always on your mind, but you can't. So now maybe that's what I'm doing because I've literally just started doing this in the last 2 weeks. I
Yeah.
know it does. So it's the first time where I'm taking my spirituality out with me past the 5-minute meditation chair, 15-minute meditation chair.
Yeah.
So now like throughout the day, like randomly, if I'm walking and I find my mind lingering, my brain will go, oh, I have a 2-block walk to the car. And first I'll go out for my phone or something. I'm actually going like, I'm just going to like breathe and just think about how I'm loving awareness for 2 blocks. And I'm doing shit like that a lot more.
I love that.
Yeah. And I'm just like little doses of it, just little doses of mindfulness and just checking in when I just would normally reach for my phone and
Yeah.
bullshit or something,
Just present awareness. 'Cause
Yeah.
we miss out on so much of that, especially with
Yeah.
phones. It's like, when are you really just checking in with even just your body and like being
Mhm.
aware of, just physical feelings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I was even at an audition earlier and everybody was on their phones and I was on one for a second and I did it and I just put it down it was literally this morning and I just put it down and I was like, I'm just going to sit here and just like breathe and just be mindful of this. And when I got in the room, I felt so much sharper
Yeah.
than if I was on the phone just bullshitting because you're just connected with yourself. You're just in it. You know what I
you're
mean?
just already in your body, which is
Yeah.
so good for acting, but like
Mhm.
for life in general, obviously.
Right.
Do you feel like, because you just because you mentioned that you're now like spending less time in that angry area,
Mhm.
do you worry about? I'm more asking this from like a selfish, because I do this.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Don't is that all our
does
questions?
that affect? I mean, yes, truly, that's life in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But like, your do you ever have concern about like your personal identity? The more you like change spiritually, the more that like, oh, especially like as a comedian writing material from a certain voice, going like, am I gonna be able to? I don't think that you have to like be crazy to be funny.
Yeah.
But like when I started comedy, my stand up, and granted, it was a little, and I think this is common for a lot of comedians, in ways mimicking comedy I'd seen before. You know, not stealing jokes, but like, oh, they said these are the themes they talk about.
Right.
But it was very like
Yeah.
drunk, slut, and all of those things were true.
Hmm.
But then it's like having the material catch up as like you change. Do you find any like, what am I trying to ask here? Like, do you ever
fucking
find
with your
yourself at
brand.
odds where like you're doing material because you're growing spiritually? You're like, here's a joke that I like and I wrote it and it's great, but like this isn't really who I am anymore.
Right. Yeah, I think that I think I have a couple of those, but for the most part, since I do a lot of like socio-political stuff,
Yeah.
but you know what? I'm so fucking tired of politics that there are like moments where I'm like, a lot of the stuff I've written is to like, you know, bridge divides or make people think more.
Yeah,
But I've
you're
just
like, God, are
given
we
up on
still talking
humanity.
about this?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've just gone to the point where I'm just like, fuck all of you. I don't care what you think. I don't need to help you. You all have your heads up your
losers.
asses. I'm going to Costa Rica to live on a fucking commune.
Yeah.
But like, so some days I get that way where I'm like, I don't want to do this shit. But then like other stuff, like I was sober for 6 months. I didn't drink or do any drugs or anything. And
Dork.
then, yeah, loser. But then just to explore with it. I've never
Oh,
had
no,
like an
absolutely.
issue. But just to clarify, I haven't ever had like an issue with it or anything. I just wanted to see what's on that side of reality.
Like, let me get really clear and see how
yeah.
I feel.
Let's see what this HD vision is like. And then to do some of my story, I had to like switch my stories a little bit, you know, or to be like, all right. And then it was weird because like I'm sober right now, and they clap. I go, no, don't clap. It's not that kind of thing. I'm just like trying it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Like it's not gonna last.
Yeah, this isn't a last. And then they go, no, you can do it. I'm like, that's not.
It's not an
shut
issue.
up.
I just am like right
stop.
now, having to explain it.
Yeah, it's like, but I think that I don't know. There's definitely moments where I know what you mean. Is it like, are you fucking with your brand when you start to grow too much or something?
Yeah, well, because I
Yeah, I know
have
what you
jokes that like, and they're every once in a while, you pull kind of like older ones out because it makes sense in the transition you're doing or whatever. And there's jokes where like, I mean, they have punchlines, they're written jokes, but the gist of why everyone's laughing is because it's like, oh, we're all fucking lunatics.
Right.
Like the realizing as I'm telling a joke is like, oh, other women are laughing at this joke because we've all done crazy shit.
Right.
Like, I have a joke where it's like, yeah, of course I went through your phone. I love you, which is not a thing I do. And then now I do a joke where it's like, I don't do that anymore.
Right.
And then that's the joke. But like
yeah.
these moments of, oh my, like, are most people really like that? And like,
it's
like, I wrote that like, we've all done it and people laugh because like, we have. And now I'm like, oh,
ooh, yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's like when you hear like,
why was I ever doing that? Why are you guys doing that?
you're like, I was 24. What's your excuse, 40-year-old lady?
Yeah, no wonder you're here alone.
Yeah, it's like when you, it's like when you hear like all the marriage jokes that make it sound horrible, and all the married people are laughing so hard, and I'm like, this is terrifying.
Why are you married?
Yeah, I'm like, I would. The fact, and you could tell it's a this so true, that's so true laugh is the vehicle of the joke, right? And it's like crazy, and I'm like, I would not be with someone if that was the case. I did have a moment like 2 years ago when I was, or maybe like 2 years ago when I was trying to get in touch with vulnerability and accept vulnerability, and like, because I came from a very like, I had 2 older brothers. I played football. All this man shit, right? And so like to be okay with vulnerability and feelings and just like be able to just what all the terms of the word and the power of it. So I had a lot of material about like, I want to be vulnerable. I hate how like men can't express themselves. I had a lot of that material.
Yeah.
So like I don't even do any of those jokes anymore because I've done it now. Like it's been 2 years of working on it and I am okay with it and I'm vulnerable. So, but sometimes I want to do those bits because they're good bits, or I have somebody who wants me to do this thing and like record 50 minutes of clean, and I'm like, oh, that's a good clean bit. But fuck, I don't even want to practice it because I haven't done it in 2 years. So I know what you mean. It's like, oh, I've grown past that. But then that's when you write new shit.
Yeah, that's true. You
hopefully
just
you
keep writing.
fucking get it on Sirius before then.
I know, right? And you're like, get those checks, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, then you have to go like, is my audience going to grow with me, or do I just find a new audience because if I start writing like nichely about, because I've always just written, I mean, mostly about
Yeah.
as we do, like our lives and our experiences. But then it's like at a certain point, if we're making like jokes about things that Ram Dass talks about, it's like,
Yeah.
is anyone listening? Are you guys?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But then you know what's crazy is they say riches are in the niches. That expression is more niching down is more relevant now than ever before. Like
That's
you
true.
you know, you look at these guys who are like, oh, I'm like the bro guru, and he's doing all these jokes that I thought were just inside jokes between me and my like friends.
And then you're like, oh, other people.
I'm like, oh, you guys also are into like very much into the gym and Burning Man. Like this is a thing. Like you know what I mean? Like,
oh, there's a whole group.
yeah, there's a whole group. You guys are really into this and this kind of music and that.
You guys
so
were here all along.
you're here the whole time. So there's like something for everybody.
Everyone. I guess
but-
mine's more like really being okay, getting rid of like the roots of me that was like, we chug beer and
right.
people have guns and stuff. And it's like, I don't really feel that way.
Yeah, I know. I think part of it is like the setup. Like, I think that it's kind of like, I actually think it's even better. Like when I was in the 6 months of being able to say honestly on stage, like, oh, I'm sober right now, and then do my craziest party stories, I
Yeah.
was able to get everybody to laugh because they're like, oh, you're safe. You're telling me about the way
Yeah.
you used to be.
They're like-
and then I was like, I should get sober forever because all my jokes just got all the
Because
jokes got
they're
way
not
better.
like, oh, he's not gonna make it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or they think you're advocating it. The squares in the audience that don't want to laugh as much because they go, oh, this is like a commercial for
You're
debauchery.
promoting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's also because I do material about mental health, and that's like a slippery slope of like, I think it has to be very clear that I'm okay. Like I'm not. 'Cause I have like a whole
Yes.
chunk on depression. I'm like, no, I'm not like right now. I didn't just. I
Right.
wrote this,
Mm-hmm.
which like is also like a joke within it, but it is that weird slippery slope of how people will react to something because they can't let go of like the worry about you.
Mm-hmm.
Or the trying to write about anything that is like super vulnerable, trying to make jokes about really dark stuff.
yeah.
Like I have stuff about abandonment, and it took someone telling me, like, look, I know like it's easy for you to make that joke because you've recovered from this thing that happened to you. But a lot of times the audience is like, they're experiencing that for the first time when you tell them a story. And then they're going like, they just see this woman up there that's like, why did someone do that to you? You know, or like,
Right.
whatever. Why would someone leave you?
Yeah.
Probably doesn't help that I look like a 5-year-old. So people are like, oh no. Oh.
Yeah. You could be your image is very sympathy inducing. You know, it's like, why would
I gotta
someone
grow a mustache.
Yeah, gotta go with the stash, girl. Because everyone's like, why would anyone do that to this poor sweet girl?
I'm a man.
I'm a man now.
I'm in a suit that's too big.
Ponytail and a stash. That's
Yeah.
bro, this new brand isn't working so well. I feel like I can't do my jokes with my stash anymore.
I don't know why you put on the stash and then just like shaved some of the front of your hairline. I gotta like make myself bald. Like you want to
why-
be a man, but that's the look you
That's-
went with, like balding
Yeah.
ponytail guy.
Yeah, did you just texturize the top so just thinning? So how did you do that even?
That's honestly impressive.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. Yeah, I think with those types of things, it's the jujitsuing and the finessing of all in the setup. You know,
Yeah.
it's all in the setup.
That's what I
and
love about it. is figuring it
yeah,
out.
yeah, that's the fun of that kind of puzzle. You know, is like, and once you get the setup right.
Oh, I just hit my knee so hard. Keep talking.
Oh, you okay?
It's fine. I'm dying.
I thought you farted, but it was just
I
your
did.
knee. That too, from the pain. From the pain. Farting makes me feel better.
That's the only way to get the pain out.
Yeah, because oh god, still my toe.
Oh, I feel free.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Go on.
Just cut to Jessica in Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, no, we did it, but there's like shit everywhere.
We found out where Baghdadi was, but whew.
But it was not easy, and we all got pink eye.
Yeah, we all got the just new kinds of pink eye, that era pink eye.
Would you have any advice for someone wanting to like get in touch with maybe someone who's like, oh, I don't really feel anything spiritual, but like
Mhm.
trying to tap into that or cultivate that?
Oh man.
Do shrooms?
I think that's definitely part of it. You know, it's like we always said, it's like the shrooms are such a part of mainstream culture now to the point where like people are talking about them on every podcast and they're becoming decriminalized and stuff that now it's like, it's almost to the point where people are like, yeah, we've heard that 1,000 times, right?
Like,
Whereas
yeah,
it used to be a thing when I was 16. I'd be like, trust me, dude, if you guys do mushrooms, it's going to open your mind so much. You're going to heal
People are like, "He's
trauma.
crazy."
Yeah, I was like, you're going to learn to be humble. You're going to learn you're not the main hero in the story. Everyone's their own hero in their story. We're all just
Yeah, you're gonna
different.
like let that go.
Yeah. It's like, but narcissism goes away. But like, anyway, I would say definitely, yeah, do some shroomies, even if you want to do micro doses, but do them in nature. I'm not a big
Yeah,
proponent
go
of like
outside.
partying with it. Like a lot of my buddies even like to party on mushies and stuff. And I really do think it's like a powerful thing that can really help you if you do it the right way in the
Yeah,
right
I like to
community.
take, like, journeys.
Yeah, I think go in nature a lot, and I think traveling. I think if someone really is feeling like a lack of depth in some way, that sometimes it can be a number of things, but I think one big contributor a lot of the time is all the distractions around us, the other energies from your friend groups, what your parents want
Oh,
you to
I
be,
mean,
what
it's
people want
real.
you to be, what your job wants you to be. So if you have
Yeah, that definition of success versus like what actually feels successful to you.
yeah, and then the definition of what going out is, the definition of what fun is, of what dressing cool is. Like all this is
Yeah.
informed by the things around you. So if you just get away from all that and go somewhere by yourself or with one friend that doesn't judge you and take a long trip, like 2 months if you can, or whatever you can afford, and
Yeah.
along that journey, take the time to meditate and be alone from everybody and try to be in nature as much as you can. I think that that's a good start. You might come back. And you'll have fun too. It's not like I'm not telling you to go on a 10 day
Yeah, you're
silent
not going to
retreat.
do that and be like, this was the stupidest
Yeah.
thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's going to do that and be like, I fucking hate my
Yeah.
stomach.
Yeah, exactly.
I miss my job.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you don't got to go somewhere fancy. You go on a drive to tours of different national parks and just
Yeah.
hang out and minimal.
Go a little outside your city. even.
Yeah,
Like,
go a little outside your city. Just simplify it, or take a 1 week trip in somewhere and just simplify it, man. Get away from things and try to just
Check out.
check out and just get away from your norm. I think is a big part of it. Get away from everything that might have the slightest, input on why you are the way you are.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then really quick, you brought this book here.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do this.
Tell me, you brought it, so we have to bring it up.
Okay. So I brought the Tao Te Ching, often
It's pronounced Tao.
the Tao, yeah. The Tao Te
Oh.
Ching. Very, very popular book. I'm sure many listeners have heard of it.
If you're a layman, it looks like Tao Te Ching.
It
So
does,
I just want you
yes.
guys to know that.
I'm trying to see if there's something from the back to read.
To just simplify what it is.
It's one exploration, the relationship between Taoism and Zen, the other explaining the roots, like the spiritual aspects of the Tao to the practice of Chinese and Japanese martial arts. Okay, that was a bad thing to
So
read.
you said you'll just like open up a page and try to figure out what it means.
When I'm bored sometimes, or like me and my girl were like just like high and feel like getting spiritual, but like in a playful way.
That's fun.
I like we have a lot of like books like these, like, so I've read this whole book through and through, and it's written very like poetically and very vaguely, so it's kind of sometimes hard to understand what everything
meant?
what is meant and everything. I'm trying to see if I sometimes bookmark some pages, but so I'm reading through it the second time, but it's basically I think the general thing I've gotten from it so far, and I'm not a master of this fucking thing by no means, but it's about the way. The Tao is the way, and the way.
By fastball.
Yeah. Where will they go? Oh man, I haven't heard a fastball reference in not long enough.
Yeah, I mean, truly, we could have done without that.
We could have done without the
sorry.
whole thing, without the band. I'm just sorry about the band.
Yeah, where were they going?
Yeah, the wrong way. So the way is essentially, I think, it's kind of like what we would call God, spirituality, the universe, it's
okay.
everything. It's
The
just
way.
the way. This just all is the way, and
Wow.
this is where he kind of talks about how like things that seem apart from the way things should be, bad people, bad things, they're just like blockages in the way, but they're part of the way.
Like an
it's
obstacle?
like it's an
Or-
obstacle, but it shouldn't be viewed as negative. It's very fucking cryptic, man. It's very difficult.
No, it's
but
like it's just got its own.
it's got its own thing.
blocked.
It's like a blockage, but it's part of it. But don't think about it. Don't try to fix it. Don't
get hung up on
get
it.
hung up on it, and just kind of keep moving along with it and learning. It's learning to let go, letting go of control, letting go of what you
what
just
an art.
self, letting go of ego, let all the other stuff. But it's just done in a really cool way.
That's so
Um,
cool. That's such a big part of, I think, a spiritual transition is the letting go. Because I feel like for me, that's where I'm at, where it's like I've got like a foot in the door, or like most of it in the door, but I still have that like toe behind me. Like I'm not ready to fully accept this as like my new life. I still want to be like, no, beer bongs and stuff. Remember me? I'm
Yeah.
still fun.
I'm still good. We can still hang out.
Yeah, I'm not a weirdo.
Yeah, I'm not just like boring.
Yeah, I don't just read and am really happy not coming to this party tonight. I love this.
Yeah, me and my girl were talking yesterday about how like she went out somewhere with some friends or something, and she was like, "How was it? Was it fun?" And she's like, "It was cool," And then I was like, you know what's funny is how often we go to things now and we come back feeling like it was cool. I guess could have done without
It's
it.
fine. Whereas
Yeah.
like there was a time in my life where I'd be like, let's go out.
Yeah, like there was a time in our life, I'd say between 15 to fucking 20, and for me like 15 to 29, where I'd say 95% of the time I went out to meet up with my friends and do anything, I'd come back and go, I was so glad I did that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I'm like, are we going through like, when you shift gears, if you have a manual car,
I'm like,
there's
is
times
this
we get
just
stuck.
aging?
I think we try to find out what we like.
Yeah.
Because we're not the same as we were, but we haven't fully figured out what it is. And not necessarily all of our peers or friend group are there.
Yeah,
so
or
then you
are
don't
going the same direction.
Yes.
And that can be hard, I think, because it's like you do like outgrow people, and that's, I mean, it's a fact of life, but it's also like a weird, sad. I think sometimes you try to like hold on to old friendships, and you're like, does this person still enjoy this either? Probably not.
Yeah.
Like,
and then trying to figure out what you can do with them, right? Like I think with some people, I'm kind of like, oh, like I don't like to go out and party as much or do these types of drugs and whatever anymore. Like I did all that, but that's not my thing.
Yeah.
But I would love to go hiking or go get a meal or hang out or go get just a sip of bourbon on the rocks. I don't know, fucking adult shit that I do.
Yeah, I'm like, I like
Not-
just like spending time.
Yeah, I want to go somewhere we can hear each other talk, not where there's like loud music blasting.
Yeah, I don't need to dance on a table ever again.
I think this is for me. I'm 31. Are you 31 too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I'm 28. Who's
Are you 28?
listening?
Yeah. I think this is 31 maybe. I think it's just kind of like, oh yeah, like it's like the gears are shifting between like what you're letting go of all the stuff you used to do in your 20s.
You haven't gotten to what you are next.
And you're still trying to figure out what that looks like socially.
Yeah.
And also
Yeah, because you're like, I don't want to like. That's the thing is like the not wanting people to think. I don't want you to think I don't like you.
Yes.
I just don't need to come to this.
Yes. And there's also an element of I still got it.
Yeah.
Or like I don't want you to think I'm not into this anymore. I'm not old.
Yeah, I could still fucking throw him back.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not gonna you're not gonna make me.
Or it's like I
show
can
you,
still
are you?
hang and then I'm out for 3 days. Like, oh, I can't.
Oh yeah, it got to the point that I realized like drinking heavily and even like drinking and smoking started to feel like a come down as if I just did ecstasy 2 days before. I was like, why am I so exhausted?
Yeah, I'll get taken out by like a Mountain Dew. A diet Mountain Dew, which I used to be like, it was diet. Like that's some sort of special. It was a different kind of poison.
Want me to try reading one of these?
Yeah, we're going to read one and see if we can
get it.
I
mean, so far they're all very cryptic that I've skimmed through. They're probably gonna hear me turning the pages, but I'll read one of these in kind of a fast pace. Let's see if you get anything out of it.
Okay, I'm listening.
And he's really big on like non-judging things and losing concepts of good and bad and shit.
I love that you're setting it up already.
Yeah,
like, just so you know, like this is where this is coming from. So.
Just so because otherwise it's fucking confusing. The greatest good is like, to set it up for the listeners, this guy is like was a contemporary of
what's his name?
Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu.
So he's a contemporary of Confucius. He was like an advisor to like Chinese emperors, and when he was also like he looked after the libraries of like ancient China or something, or played a part in that or something. And when he got older, people basically were like, can you please write stuff down from all this wisdom that you have? So he wrote this book and he was like, I'm going to write it down, but I can't, basically, I think he was kind of like, I can't really specifically tell you like what I'm feeling. I could just give you like vague ideas.
He's like, I'll try.
Yeah. It's like, are you Tiresias? Are you a blind prophet? Fucking just write down what it is, dude. Tell us.
He's like, ugh.
Yeah, there we go. The greatest good is like water. Water's virtue is that it benefits all creatures, but contends with none. It resides in places most men hate. Thus, it takes after the way. For a place to live, the land itself is considered good. For the mind, depth is considered good. For society, sympathy is considered good. For speaking, standing by one's word is considered good. For governance, managing the flow is considered good. For actual events, ability is considered good. For movement, the right timing is considered good. So listen, only in non-contention is there no blame. Y'all can rewind that shit and try to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to re-listen to that.
Because your boy is lost.
I was just like, is this all a metaphor for water? Is water the metaphor?
That's why I like to get to the ending and go, where are you going with this? And then I go back and read it again. When I read the book, I would go through literally like 2 pages over the course of half an hour, because I'd read a page and then I'd like meditate on it for 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I'd read it again and then I'd move to another page.
Interesting.
And I kind of just when you finish it, you kind of just get a gist of what he's trying to say, which is why I'm reading it again.
Wow. Are you finding like now that you're rereading it, you're like, oh, or are you still like, I don't understand?
I got a little more. That whole thing about the way and the blockages in the way and just like it being how it is. I had a real deeper understanding of whatever I just said a month ago. So I need to read it again. But I had a big light bulb go off where I was like, holy shit, that's what he's saying this all kind of is or something.
Yeah.
In terms of all that.
That's another thing to be like that sort of enlightened is not the word, but like far along in your understanding of like, quote, the way, then trying to say it to someone who's like brand new, you're like, I think anyway, like if you're an expert in any field and then you try to just have a general conversation about the thing you're an expert in, like I think people get caught up in like, my roommate, he just walked out, he has been a producer for like years, and there's things that terms he'll throw out around like camera stuff and like editing, and he says them as if it's like a common knowledge thing.
Yeah, you don't know that?
And then like, so I imagine, it's the same thing with like spiritual stuff. It's hard to tell like, oh, what is something that I didn't know? Because there's so much we know in general that it's hard to believe that at some point we didn't know our colors, you know?
Yeah.
Or like,
yeah, 100%. We don't this shit is just a curveball of so much stuff. And I wish I could find, there were some sections that I found in it that were like so cool, and they were so relevant to like what's happening right now, like stuff like about war, and like, and he wrote this
Whoa.
shit. It was so relevant right now. It was like, war is hated by all good men, and people like at all times find a way to manage the flow away from violence. And like, if you build up armies, you will find war. If you build up like this and that. It was like really cool shit. So sometimes he gets more fucking literal.
oh wow.
And other times
okay.
this bitch just talking about water.
Motherfucker. He's like David
Yeah.
Foster Wallace.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had a speech about, I don't know if you know what that is.
Wait, my name sounds really familiar.
He's like an author. He did all this like great writing, and he gave like, I don't even know. He's like a philosopher of sorts, like a modern. But somebody once sent me, and it was when I was, not to go like so dark. I was very clearly suicidal. And it was like a close friend, but that I hadn't seen in years. And they're like, hey, I think you should check out this speech. And it's a speech called This Is Water. And it's David Foster Wallace at a graduation. And he's just sort of talking about how, like growing up and like when you haven't experienced everything, everything's like a learning opportunity. Like everything's so exciting. And then hitting adulthood and being like, getting used to calm, where that seems like what's happening, and like,
Interesting.
yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, it's like you don't have as much shit to worry about, and then your mind festers because you're not looking inward. And
it was this whole
that's-
speech about like learning to accept that, like, yeah, like this is what it is, and you got to learn to accept it. But then I
Right.
found out that guy committed suicide, and I was like, you just sent me a speech from a man who committed suicide to get me to not commit suicide.
Yeah.
Which is very dark and a weird way to
Yeah.
wrap this up. But,
Yeah. Ending on light notes.
yeah, you guys check out Tao Te Ching. I'm promoting it like it's
Yeah.
your personal.
Yeah, I
book.
got my book, Tao Te Ching, coming out.
Thank you, Lao Tzu,
co-authored
for
by Lao
joining
Tzu.
us. This has been really great. Thank you for
Thanks for having
letting
me on.
Pick apart your awesome brain. Where can people find you?
Instagram or Facebook, if people are still using that. Feraz Ozel, FERAZOZEL. I'll be at the San Jose Improv at the end of the month, day after Thanksgiving, that
Perfect.
weekend. If you're anywhere in Southern California, I'll be semi-headlining at the Comedy Magic Club in Hermosa, and I'm doing like 25 or 30 minutes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be-
Congrats. That's awesome.
thanks,
Those are
thanks.
both really awesome.
Thanks. And I'll be filming that set, so if you're in that area, so SoCal, go there, NorCal,
Go there, enjoy it, and laugh extra hard if you're sitting next to the camera. Not that I need to tell you that because you will. But
Yes.
get that get that tape for whatever you need it for.
For Instagram.
That's right.
Yeah.
Content. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks. Good hanging, good talking.
This was great. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Feraz Ozel, journey from growing up Muslim to a cool, spiritual, awesome, positive lifestyle. I just fucking loved that interview. He has such good energy. It went on for a while because I could have talked about some of that stuff ad nauseum forever. If you have more questions for him, let me know. Maybe I'll have him back on a bonus episode or a follow-up episode, excuse me. He was awesome. So go follow him. Go check out his stuff. He's doing a lot of colleges, a lot of touring. So go see him near you. If you like the podcast and you haven't already, please subscribe. Rate it, review it on iTunes, share it with your friends because everyone's a little bit ignorant sometimes. Big thank you to John, Jean, Dustin, Greg, Kathy, Terry, exclusive members of the League of Extraordinary Idiots on my Patreon. Couldn't keep these episodes flowing without you guys. Greg, I'm going to holler at you because I know you're coming to the Tampa show and I just realized you rejoined the League. It's a whole thing. You guys, you can get exclusive just fun content. You get access to bonus episodes, like I said, cool postcards at different levels, and tickets to shows, etc., etc. So check out my Patreon, patreon.com/ignoranceisblessed. I do this all on my own. no network, and occasional ads reach out, but I don't have time to do ad outreach anyway. And I don't want to sell you guys fucking bullshit products just to keep this thing bloating. So $1 a month is all it takes to get those bonus episodes, and it really does make a huge difference for me. And the more patrons I have, the more time I can put into this thing that I love so much that I occasionally have to neglect for things that demand my time because I need money from them to pay my bills. Oh God, I think I just coughed, hiccup, laughed. What just happened? I am falling apart. Dear God. Come over to the Facebook group, hang out with us, chat with us, start a conversation. Ignorance is #blessedidiots. It's a safe space for unsafe questions. It's Jesus. Oh no, I have the hiccups. I gotta power through it. I can't redo this. I need to fucking get this done. It's not a place to start fights with people, but you're allowed to share your opinions. Sometimes we do get a few like, Jesus Christ. Sorry, I'm going to probably say Jesus Christ after every time I hiccup for some reason, which seems very silly, especially given the topic of this podcast. I hiccuped and I didn't say it. I deserve an award. I am a fucking slob. This is hilarious. Sometimes people share really aggressive opinions because they disagree with guests on the podcast, which is fine. If you want to do that, totally cool. We can open the dialogue. Just so you know, a lot of those guests we have on the podcast do end up joining the group. So be prepared to engage with those people in a discourse if you're going to do that, or just know that they're seeing it, I guess. So, maybe try to keep it to the topic and without flagrant name calling is what we go for, because that's not what the group's about. We're not there to fight, but we are there to, hey, if you have a question that you're like, actually, I read all these things that say this is a bad way of thinking, but this is a thought that comes to my mind. Does anyone want to discuss that, etc.? Maybe we'll start touching on political stuff and there. I don't know yet. I thought about posting a thing asking where all my fellow libtards are looking for their Democratic candidate. But then I haven't, because I haven't had I don't have the time to engage, and I don't want to just throw that out there and then leave it to burn alive. Anyway, come over to the podcast, and also please keep in mind that Feraz, and for that matter, no guest is I fucking said that wrong. I'm having a panic attack because of these fucking hiccups. No guest is or claims to be a representative for every person who has a similar identity. Motherfucking hiccups. They're just one person sharing their own experience and ideas to help us get a peek at how things look from their situated position in the world. Mother of fucking God. Additional questions, you have a guest you want covered, head on over to the Facebook group. That's the best way to tell me, unless, of course, you would join the Patreon. You can also tell me there. I'm going to fucking murder everyone, these goddamn hiccups. I am peaceful. I am love. I'm going to break something. Listen, I'll always do my best to deliver what I can based on what you guys want to hear. Keep asking questions. The more we ask, the more we learn, the more we know. And the more we know, the more we can look down on others who aren't as smart as we are. And isn't that the point? Sorry, I wanted to rush through that because these fucking hiccups. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being patient with my ignorance. You guys can't even hear the hiccups. It just sounds like a lapse in me talking. I swear it's hiccups. I'm not having mini strokes. Oh my God, what if that's what hiccups are? Oh God, I don't have time for this. See you soon, idiots.